Shomeat Otane. I want like a beef form of Shohei Otane, just a ground beef sitting here, and we pick at it. We call it Shomeat Otane, and we just keep. I'm ripping off an arm. And we got to eat the whole every
time we do the segment, we have to wheel in what's left of Shomeat Otani.
Every time you say show meat, I can't get out of my head. A couple pimentos as the eyes.
Shomeat Otani is one of my favorite things you've ever said.
Angel's cap on
The Nielsen Show featuring Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings at 6, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Yeah, that shouldn't be arrested, but when a person...
The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
This is the video of her the next day, not a mark on her, smirking at the camera.
She's fine.
Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for The Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey, Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla, as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
A good Wednesday morning to you. I always just think afternoon. I'm so used to doing afternoons in radio. A good Wednesday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout. Matt Iwanyk with you here alongside YouTube Trev and Dean Millard from For Vengeance Media once again joining us. Dino, I like the hat.
Thank you. I had to represent the Dodgers for my good friend Jack Cookson of Pro-Am Sports. He's a Giants fan. I'm just going to check when the Giants play today. Oh, that's right. They're out. They're not playing today. So Jack needs a team. Got you covered, buddy.
You're going there off the bat.
I'm going to say text message in 5, 4. Quick. Jack is pretty quick.
I'm surprised how bad the Giants kind of finished up this year. Like we've been looking
fired
at
their manager before the season was over.
Yes.
Like that's like pulling the goalie with a minute left in the period. Like you always wait, just let them ride it out.
Just finish the season, especially when you know you're done.
Yeah, like when you fire a guy on the final weekend, like you literally had to wait 1 or 2 more days or whatever.
Actually, speaking of firing people, I don't think my Yankees have fired anyone yet.
Do you?
I'm gonna have to take a look.
Are you a Boone guy?
No, so I didn't want him hired in the first place. I wanted Joe Girardi to stay, but then also after last year's, I went you got to make a change at some point.
That's what Dodgers fan kept saying about Dave Roberts, and then he won in 2020. And
yeah, but the Yankees haven't gone to a World Series.
Yeah,
at least Dave Roberts got the Dodgers to World Series.
That's right. The one thing I like about Boone is, so you know how coaches, they do their weekly show or whatever, and on a radio station. I think I don't know what you would even get out of Belichick on a weekly show, but the one thing I love about Boone, he does his weekly appearance on Talkin' Yanks with the John Boy guys. It's so different, and he gets into it with them. He's like, no, you guys, this is Boone saying, you guys are too emotional when you watch the game, because they got on it because he kind of defends his players and doesn't get into the face of guys. And Boone is like going at them saying, no, you guys are too emotional. I'm like, this is what I like, is this guy is, now, I'm not a Yankee fan. I don't pay attention all the time, but I like that that's something different. Like, I don't think many coaches are saying, I'm going to get it back and forth. They just want to get in, do their show, and get out without any controversy and get back to tape or whatever it is. That's the one thing I do like, but I don't watch every Yankee game, so I don't know the in and outs of how frustrating a manager, because I was in the Fire Dave Roberts camp like 4 years ago.
Well, and here's the one thing I like. Look, I don't know everything about baseball. I don't know what it's like to play baseball or what it's like day in and day out. I also don't know, like, from an outside perspective, outside of submitting your lineup, how much a manager can influence a team. That's a question I've always wondered.
Yeah, I think baseball maybe second to football.
You think it's that high?
Yeah, well, you're calling pitches a lot of the times from your dugout now. You're so many different options, whether you want to bunt, hit and run, different things. Your positioning, like every play. I think baseball. I think hockey and basketball, you probably have the least amount because it's so fluid. Baseball and football stop and start, and you have time to send in a play. Basically,
I never thought of it fully that way. It's just like
a combination of your manager, pitching coach, whatever. You're sending in signals to your third base coach on every pitch, to your catcher on every pitch. Now it's digital. Same thing as a defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, whereas hockey's like you're not sitting there in between whistles sending in plays in hockey and basketball.
No. Right.
They kind of know, you're talking about it a little bit on the bench, but in those other two sports, you're direct quarterbacks, catchers, everybody's looking directly into the dugout sidelines.
I have to play a little closer. Going to baseball games with Cam Moon.
Oh,
because he's big into baseball. He's coached it. He's played it's always been fascinating to learn the game from him.
So fun.
Like, I've watched baseball my whole life, but I've never really known baseball too in depth. And it's like, hey, why would that happen there?
Yeah.
And he explains. And then I'm the fan going like all the time with the Riverhawks, like, run home, send him home. And they would never do it. And I'd be like, why aren't you sending him home?
You're like the hockey fan that says shoot from the red line, right?
Yes, 100%.
I did some prospects games where they were down there hosting, and it was the same thing. Mooner would come down. I would get up in between innings to go do my hit, and then we would just sit and talk baseball or whatever. His son played college baseball in Buffalo.
His son plays pro in Sweden right
That's
now.
right, yeah. His son is the reason I had to do a WHL game. Very first Oil King game, the crane breaks down on the ice while they're fixing the scoreboard at Rogers.
Yes, I remember that.
So there's a massive delay, and Mooner had already said, hey, come do an intermission hit. Okay, because I worked in Red Deer, and we were both part of the covering the Memorial Cup team, so got to know him really well. And so the game's going on, and finally it starts, and it's late, and I get this text from him saying, if this game goes later, you have to come and finish. I'm like, yeah, that's funny. I'm like a anchor my whole life, never done play-by-play. He's like, no, seriously, I have a flight to go watch my son play baseball in Buffalo. I'm going straight to the airport after this, packed my bags, Rebels are going home. I can't miss my flight. You're coming to do play-by-play. And I'm like, oh, hey, Trish, my wife, Trish, who you're the person she wanted to hire the whole time at Aquila Productions, and she tells me about that. Anyway, I say to her, I got to leave. Her parents were there. I literally go up and finish the play-by-play and got so excited during an Oil Kings goal in a shootout that I thought, oh, wait, I'm doing the Rebels play-by-play. So that was my first experience in play-by-play, thanks to Mooner having to leave. And I'm sure everybody in Red Deer is thankful that Mooner got back and now he's on with the Oilers. So
that's awesome.
Are you big into baseball?
A little bit. Like, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I watched it a little bit growing up, but nothing too crazy. I kind of tuned in last night for the Blue Jays game, but
do you have a team?
Blue Jays.
It is the Blue Jays. Yeah. So 3 different teams represented.
Yeah,
here.
that's right.
That's it's a different feeling. Dodgers, like, I remember when they
Dodgers
were bad
and the Yankees
for a while.
are basically the same, right? Like they have been
they've got the
long-standing
histories.
franchises.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
They've got the money. They're in
they
the
both
big
had
markets.
terrible times, in different times. The Yankees were terrible in the that 80s,
early 90s,
before
their World Series run.
That's right,
of the
before
late
they
90s.
run, and they're both have a ton of cash. The Dodgers.
They're the top
developed-
2 teams.
Yeah, they are. They are both on the Pacific Coast. I've wanted a Dodgers Yankees World Series for so long.
pretty cool.
It happens.
I'm
just trying to remember when it last would happen. But like,
it's been a long time.
And that was
like in the 50s and the 60s. It happened.
It's one of the issues I have with the Astros is the fact that they took away that like. The Astros cost you guys a World Series, but they a couple years took out the Yankees in the ALCS, and it was okay. Well, it would have been great. We were so close to that Yankees-Dodgers World Series. By the way, Eric was telling me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Eric was just telling me on PBS they do this documentary series called Frontline. It's been going on for decades. But he said that they just did one on the Astros cheating scandal.
Oh, I'll have to check.
And I was like, I'm gonna have to go find that one and give it a look.
Have the Astros paid back yet? Like, will they ever pay back? Like, as a Yankee fan.
No.
Will you always hold that? Is there a moratorium where it's like, okay, they're done now and they can?
Well,
they're like,
do you have any? As a Dodgers fan, they cost you a World Series.
They did, yeah.
Did the winning a World Series take that away?
There's the text from Jack. Not so much. I'm not going to read it on the air, even though like this is not on air. I still don't want to get you guys in trouble. I got to think at some point there you have to be like, okay, it's like forgiving somebody, right? You know, you almost harbor more anger and ill and stupid stuff while you're still angry at them. So I'm still angry. Like I'm still like that was only, within the last 5 years.
Yeah.
But the more time goes on, and so George Springer is gone, and who else? The Dusty Baker is a brand new manager. It's at some point they won the World Series. I was happy for Dusty Baker as a manager. I was still mad that some of those guys didn't get suspended, but they wouldn't still be suspended. I mean, no. There would only have been like a maximum year-long suspension. So my philosophy is if they come out and say, hey, we screwed up, I'm fine with it. I haven't seen that yet.
Well, they never did that. They still have the banner hanging up there, which I guess that was never going to come down. I also hold grudges.
Yeah, so do I.
I hold grudges. So it's like one, I don't know what it's going to take for me to let this one go. I think and that's why I asked you about the Dodgers win the World Series. I wonder when the Yankees win their next World Series.
Well, and
if that's going to take it away from me because, okay, it's like, I still do not like 04. I don't like talking about the Red Sox coming back down 3-0 to the Yankees.
That was
the Yankees won in 09.
Crazy, though. Yeah.
The Yankees won in 09, and I saw another World Series title, so I was like, I could get over the stomaching of that a little bit because they ultimately then still won since.
Yeah. The only thing I still like, it doesn't bother me, but it's so petty when people are like, oh, the Dodgers won a World Series during COVID. I'm like, oh, did a bunch of teams get kicked out of the league? They all played under the same situation. Is anybody questioning what happened in the bubble in the NHL? Like, give me a break. It's just petty, whatever, haters that want to just, take down your team. They won a title in a league where everybody played the same amount of situation. It's not like the Dodgers had an advantage over anybody, whether, same thing with every sport in that bubble. It was everybody dealing with the same circumstances. So anybody that kind of tries to do that, I just like, something is wrong in your life.
Do you, as an Oiler fan, hate the Ducks?
Yeah, definitely. Like I don't like anyone in the Pacific really.
That's funny how that's
sure.
like that generation used to be definitely Calgary or Vancouver for a while.
Yeah.
Now it's the Ducks because of the. Are you talking about
exactly.
the pad grab?
That's what I'm asking because for the Oilers, the closest thing I think we'd have if we could compare it here to the cheating scandal, it wasn't cheating, but.
Well, it wasn't cheating. It should have been a penalty, but you're right.
Not at that level.
They didn't have trash cans out in the stands telling you a slap shot's coming.
I guess we could also then say Lightning and Golden Knights with what they're doing with the cap, but do you have ill will towards the Ducks right now because of what happened, or have you been able to let that
every
go?
time? Well, I mean, you when it's brought up, obviously you kind of get triggered for sure, but you kind of just put it on the back burner. But yeah, every time, every playoffs, you see something, I'm like, oh gosh, and I remember that day so well, and it's infuriating. And you look at all the goaltender interference calls or whatever that there are now, and it's crazy. It's bar none. Like the difference, like sometimes they'll just get like a little shove and it's like, okay, no goal, but like the full on like hand on the equipment, the pads or whatever, and they're like, no, like this is a goal. Like I'm blown away. It's changed so much since,
like Sabres fans probably still hate Dallas Stars, right? And that was 1999, and that cost them a cup.
I still hate the Dallas Stars for that. I hate them for other reasons too, but I hate them for that
was cost you a cup, right? Yeah. In that situation, so I could see that. But like, how long do you harbor? I wonder. Astros, it still lingers. That's still sort of fresh, but the Oilers have gone deeper since.
At least we've-
And that's where
But
I
it's
think
still that's the first thing you think of when you see those teams. And that's
I
rivalries.
I think it's seeing a win though. I think that's what helps because every goal is to win. And why why are we upset with the Astros? Because they cost other teams a chance to win. The Ducks cost the Oilers a chance to move on, which who knows would have happened. I'm not going to sit here and say they would have won the title that year, but you never know. It's the playoffs, and the Sabres haven't even come close. Basically, almost the conference finals in 06, I think, is the next closest they've been. So I think once you get, I'll even go.
What about 06 Carolina and the
and I think people are getting over that one.
So do you
I
think
think we're
Flames
close
fans
now.
are over the Lightning?
Oh,
That's a good question.
they're not. They're definitely not.
You think they're still
Like with the goal, like
with the
yeah.
Jelena and all that?
Yeah. So if
Yeah,
Oiler,
no,
like
they're
if Flames fans are over, or Flames fans aren't, Oiler fans are with the Rolison hit.
I think there's still a lot of Oiler fans that don't like the Hurricanes because of that. I'm not going to say everyone is.
They
out,
should probably
but
not
I think
like
the
some
Hurricanes,
of the Oilers too, like for that some of those situations. But
I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
We don't need to go into
Anyway,
the
it's just-
06 one. Yeah, but yeah, it's Bill
it's
Buckner.
funny.
How much did Bill Buckner get
Yeah,
ripped on
forever,
from
yeah.
Red Sox fans? And then the Red Sox finally won. Steve Bartman with the Cubs ripped on. The Cubs finally winning, and people they want to invite him back so they can let it go. Type thing.
they want to forgive. It's funny. I was out in Vancouver doing a JPHL game showcase, and Craig McTavish was there.
Yeah.
His son Sean coaches the Titans U14, and so we brought him on in the broadcast. And I said, 06 was so fun for us, and you guys got so close. I said, it's probably much easier now, and at the time it was hurtful. He says it's a lot harder now than it was, because you think back of all the different things. And he said, I thought for sure we won Game 6 so handily we're going to win Game 7. It didn't, and not to anybody's real fault. He says there's things I'd like to do differently, obviously, but it stings more now than it did like in the immediate. And I thought it might be, and maybe for fans it is, but when you're that close to it,
That's true.
it sticks forever probably.
Well, I want him. Like, if of the people I wanted to see win the cup in 06, Mac T was the top of my list. I wanted him
'Cause he
to
needed
get
5?
the title. Well, just as a coach to be able to do it as
I
a
get
coach.
it.
And
Yeah,
come out
yeah.
and imagine being.
They did such a masterful job that run too. I mean,
Detroit and San Jose
yeah,
series, they crushed it. Like, now, obviously, Rolison played unreal.
Sure, and they
Chris
had Chris
Pronger
Pronger.
is just a beast.
and Pisani turned into Chris Kontos, and everybody else that was John Druce had the 14-goal, 13-goal run. I mean, there were moments in that just stick out. I mean, Ryan Smith taking the puck and the Chicklets, coming back to set up the overtime goal. That's the most vivid memory that I remember, that triple overtime against San Jose game. But
and I think 2 triple overtimes. Like, they had one against Detroit.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that one went.
do you
but
remember
it was
the
long,
first
but-
game? There was like a goal that Detroit scored in overtime, and it kind of went under the
Yes.
net. And it's like, imagine if that goal would have counted, how different everything could have been, because they got on that roll. And Steve Yzerman was on one knee, came from the Olympics, could barely walk, and they knocked off Detroit. And then but if that first game doesn't go their way, how different
does everything
is it,
else
right?
go?
It's just a thing I was thinking about the other day, but
Yeah, I know, and it's just
so fun to think about. And just imagine if it ever happens again.
Yeah.
Because the
Stanley
buzz
Cup part?
Going down to White Ave after I lived like 20 blocks from White Ave. The fires and everything that people were starting, maybe not the best, but just the buzz.
Yeah.
Everything was alive. It was one of the coolest feelings I've ever been a part of as a media member.
see. And the one thing though that I like, we won't be able to say for this team when they eventually win versus that 06 team. That was a hardworking, like it wasn't.
It was
not saying this
unexpected.
team's not hardworking,
But it's expected out
It
of
was
this team.
exact, and it was just
That's
they
your
came out
goal.
of nowhere. They were the 8th seed. Like, if they had won that cup and finished that entire story with the cup, that would have been just
Flames, Oilers, Senators. 3 years in a row,
Yeah.
a Canadian
we
team
just-
went to the cup and nobody could finish it. But you're right. I mean,
So
this
frustrating.
version, you fast forward to 2023, and it's cup or bust expectations
Yes.
for fans, for I'm sure players. Shameless plug. We had Game Changers come out today, and I talked with Jason Strudwick about it.
episode 5.
Episode 5, yes. Is it a distraction with the talk of the contracts ending with McDavid, Draisaitl, and you have to win the cup, or is it just us? And he said no. Everybody knows the contracts. Everybody knows the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
And each year it goes, the pressure and the the anxiety and everything that you feel to win sort of increases. So this team, you're right. That 06 team was like, a wing and a prayer and a pronger and a Rollison that got them there. This 2023 team is like, no, the fans are expecting a parade here at some point, and the players must as well. I mean, they've added and they've added and they've added, and they still probably need something on the blue line unless somebody really takes a step. But it's in the players' hands now.
For sure.
They've got a good coaching staff. They've got a good nucleus. Like a lot of teams, this is cup or bust.
780-218-9999 in the Paris Jewelers inbox, or you can get into the nasty chat on YouTube. A couple texts into the inbox already. Jay, thanks, guys, for triggering my PTSD from 2006. Ugh, I'm not over it. And then the doc saying, I will never, ever, ever like the Carolina Hurricanes because of 06. I want nothing but the worst for them. It's a grudge that will never die. The doc, I would love if you could text back once the Oilers win. Does that grudge still hold? Because that's the thing that I wonder if it does change things. Let's get into the Edmonton Oilers. And where do we want to begin with this season, Trev? I guess, is it like cup bust? Where's that level of this team needs to get to?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like, you look back, Leon said it, as soon as it's cup or bust, like right at the beginning, when the players got back from summer. I think the expectations are obviously very high. Here's hoping, man. Like this it has to be. At least just get to the finals. Alluding back to what you said, this is going to be my second year here in Edmonton now. And, you're talking about White Ave, what the buzz it was in 2006. Like, I remember hearing stories. I was 8 then, and I remember like going to school and just seeing I'm like, where the heck is that? And like my stepdad's like, oh yeah, no, that's Edmonton right now. I'm like, that looks pretty cool. I'm like, well, that seems like fun, so. And then just once, this previous year, the Oilers, they advanced, beat LA, and just being on Jasper and just seeing everything, all the excitement, I was like, I could get used to that. So, it's definitely cup or bust. I can't wait. I honestly think Connor and Leon are at that level, and they were, they were just the numbers they put up, like Leon, he's just a playoff monster, and he honestly looked like the best player, like in some parts of last year's playoff run. Like he was our guy. Like he was just so dominant. And so I really think that Connor and Leon are now, and I think that's what Connor's saying to Leon, why they're working out, in Ontario this whole summer. He's like, I think we're good enough to really, really take us to the next step. And, the team in and of itself, it shouldn't be 2 guys, but I really think they are that good now with the numbers that they're putting up, the experience, the drive, the motivation, everything. So they got the right 2 guys in the room, and I'm curious to see what Connor Brown's going to do. Obviously Hyman's coming off of a career year last year, 84 points, I think. So if he can build from that, consistently, like a lot of these guys, Nugent Hopkins, I don't think he's going to get 100 points, but maybe 80, 90 points, and that's good in and of itself. So, and then, you got the Holloways. If the eye test, what we saw it last year, all of, Oil Country are saying he's going to be a Calder favorite and all that. Obviously that tapered off very early, but he's looking good. He's looking really good. So they got a lot of, new faces. Here's hoping that just the bottom 6, I'm curious to see what Broberg can do. It's going to be interesting. So I think, for sure we should be at least in the conference finals and hopefully the Stanley Cup finals. That would be awesome.
I think that's what we're getting from most people. Like anyone I've talked to about that, it's like at least be in the conference finals, win a game this time, and you've hit a bar, like the bare minimum bar for this season. But I think that's completely fair for this team. That is where they are at now, where it's like, if you can't get to a conference finals, which is hard to do,
sure,
it is going to be looked at as a failure of a season.
Yeah.
I think it's if they don't get to the final.
You think it's good to go that far?
Honestly, I think that, listen, at times they have the 2 best players in the game on the ice at the same time. And then you throw in the guys that you've just talked about, the supporting cast that is there. I think that this team should be saying to themselves, we need to make the finals. The only 4 teams make the conference. I'm not saying that I would say this is a disaster of a season if they made the conference finals. Sure, that's the bare minimum, but that shouldn't even be on the wall for them. It's like, here's the Stanley Cup. We need to be 2 of the last teams, and we need to be holding this. They have, like I said, they have been given pretty much everything except for maybe, and I love Matthias Ekholm. I think as much as we've loved Bouchard as a city, Broberg is going to come in and just be a more calm version of Bouchard is so offensively and exciting. I think Broberg is not going to be, and when I say calm, not as like bring you out of your seat, but he's going to be so solid. So if one of those two guys and Broberg could take a step, it's just a lot for a defenseman to say, you need to take this step for us to be really good. So they might need to go after somehow or find another defenseman. But, I think the goaltending probably learned a lot from last year, and it was rock solid in the regular season, and you just take that next step. So I honestly, the only thing that you guys need to figure out if you're going to go live is don't go back to that pub we went to.
Alibi Pub.
Yeah, where they first game of the playoffs, overtime, and the power goes out in overtime.
This is the 16-17 playoffs that you were doing.
That you were talking.
Live
I was doing
post-game.
live. You were talking about the glove, right?
Yeah,
was that the glove year? Or?
That was the year. Yeah.
So power goes out, screen's dead. Everybody's looking at us like, "What do you guys do?" I'm like, "We're radio. We don't have anything to do with TV." Finally, they get it plugged back in. Ducks are celebrating.
Oh,
They missed, dude. They were still
That's
putting
like the
stuff up on the
worst.
walls when we were signing on to do our show, so they were clearly not ready. But that was the weirdest on location
That's terrible.
live.
So let's get into Alibi Pub here quickly.
Well, I don't want you guys to get sued or anything, but
They're
that was
closed down.
Oh, okay.
They didn't even
good.
finish the year.
Well, yeah,
that in 2016, they were because that's at the old Shark Club place.
That's right, yeah.
On Stony Plain Road and whatever the 170 inches off 178th or something.
Power out. Done.
Where it's been so many different
It has
bars because it's in a terrible spot for
It
a
is.
bar because you could only get it coming from Stony Plain
Yep.
Road going west. It's a very quick turn off to it. If you
could
miss it,
see
you got to go
Yeah,
further.
but you can't get there.
There's no real parking in the area. There's no real residential in the area for the locals to walk to or anything.
No.
There's a lot of reasons why if
A lot
there's
of red
places,
flags.
if you're looking to open up a bar in Edmonton, that should be at the bottom of your list,
Yeah.
people. Bottom.
Go to like the Meat Locker or whatever this place.
Mead
anything
Hall.
else.
Mead Hall. Yeah.
Mead Hall.
Find some.
I always thought it was Meat Hall, and
That's
I
what I
heard
thought,
it's
yeah.
meat, but it's Mead.
But that was the weirdest, and it
Okay.
got crazy busy at times, and it was.
So it's
weird.
a massive bar.
Yeah.
And you walk in, and it's this open room. But to the left was the playoff party they had where you did your pre and post game show. And it was the room for that. They had a thing. But I remember selling this pub, and their big selling point was 100 beers on tap.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing
That's
selling
crazy.
point for a bar.
Awesome.
Like, cool. I could try different beers. So I came for a game once with you, and I come into this room. And I was like, yeah, can I get like a menu for the drinks? Because I'm going to try something. And like, oh, I'm sorry. In this room, we can only do Molson and Coors. And I'm thinking, your selling point is 100 different beers on tap. And I can't get one watching the playoffs regularly.
I'm telling people to come down.
Yes.
I'm telling people, come on down, watch the game. 100 beers. But I left out if you're over there.
Yeah, you got to be away from where all the bar. And this place is so massive. Everyone's just in the playoff room, so you have to go sit by yourself over there if you want. And I was like, okay, I'll spend money and buy Molson and Canadian, which a Canadian or Coors, which is on special.
Yeah.
Like, I'll gladly drink their beer. I will pay less for it, but I would give you more money to let me have a beer I've never
you
had
advertised.
before.
Which is what you advertised. They had
we-
no signs in the bathroom. I remember my niece came to watch a game, and she's like,
Which
like
one is
10, and she's like, I don't know where to go. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to tell you to go
I
into the
also
wrong
don't.
one. So let's get a manager here and get some signs in the bathroom. It was just a strange,
It was a different time.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. It made for
Well-
good stories that we couldn't tell on the air because we didn't want to, embarrass ourselves.
So
but-
in radio, one thing we would get a lot of is what's called food drops.
yeah,
Businesses would drop food off for us or something, and we would get to eat it or whatever. And
you guys
they
haven't had food drops yet here.
We haven't had a food drop here yet. so
Shout
I'm
out!
gonna
Like
have to-
somebody's out there.
I'm gonna have to
needs
get there.
the address and get some.
We're gonna
food
have some
drops
stuff
here.
coming, but actually, we're supposed to get some stuff from Acme Meats. So I don't know. That would be a
that'd
food
be
the
drop. type thing.
greatest. Oh, Corey the butcher is. Did you know he was on the Canadian national butcher team?
Yeah.
That is incredible. He is so talented.
That's impressive.
And I highly recommend that in the Richie market. It's just the best.
So I think we're supposed to get something from them. But so at the radio station, we had a food drop from Alibi because we were jumping on for this.
Right.
And we have this long hallway that connects all the FMs and 1260 at the time to walk through and stuff. And that's usually where we set up the food drop. And all it was dinner rolls and a big bowl of coleslaw that stunk up the whole hallway.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and the sales reps like trying to be nice and like trying to like, hey guys, try to eat some of this.
Have a roll and coleslaw.
And it was the like think about when you go to a buffet and you think about that Caesar salad bowl.
Yeah.
Bigger than that of just coleslaw.
Dang.
And they were like, oh, okay.
Excellent.
And that's like to try to get us to be like, hey, this is a great place to
So
try
many
all
red
this
flags.
food.
So many
It's
red
like-
flags with that.
Oh, thank you for bringing back Alibi Pub, Dino. Dean Millard from For Vengeance Media, YouTube, Trev Iwanyk with you here on the EST Hangout. Listening for those people listening on EdmontonSportsTalk.com or watching on our YouTube channel. 780-218-9999 is the Paris Jewelers inbox, or you can get in the nasty chat on YouTube. When it comes to the Edmonton Oilers, for Connor McDavid, actually, no, where I wanted to go was... So you guys, conference finals or Stanley Cup final, who's the biggest challengers for the Oilers in the West? Who are the teams that they should watch out for? Like, obviously, one of the things for the Oilers that would stop them getting there, we saw it last year, it's themselves.
Yes.
That if they get in their own way, that they're going to stumble. You know, if they get the better goaltending last year, they're probably in the Stanley Cup final, maybe winning it. Who's their biggest challenge, though, in the West to... You know, if they want to get to the Stanley Cup, if they're not, who's the teams they have to look out for?
I think Dallas is, a team that's...
I'm big
you know,
on Dallas.
You've got a real mix of, Sagan, Ben taking a back seat to some of, Robertson, Niskanen, or Heiskanen, brother, and obviously their goaltending is strong. So I think they're a contender. I don't think you ever look at Colorado and say they're not a contender with even without their captain, and who knows on that situation. So I look at those two teams as the two biggest. I think a lot of other teams have so many question marks, like what is Winnipeg going to be, and have they sorted things out? Is Hellebuck going to be there? Hellebuck is a guy who could carry a team, I think, into contention. And then, is Vegas their health, and can they get back to that top level again? But Dallas, Colorado, for me, are probably the two, if you're putting the Oilers in there, which I would, the top three contenders, and I'm sure I'm missing another team.
For sure, yeah. For Dallas, like I was just looking at their lineup, like penciled in right now, they have like on their third line center is Tyler Seguin.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm like, that's like super deep. Like 4 years ago, he's an 80-point player. And then you got Matt Duchene. They got him this summer, which is also huge.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
Rupe Hintz is continuing to just become like an elite player, like super good, wicked fast. And then Jason Robertson coming off a career year. I'm big on the Stars. Miro Heiskanen, I think, is going to be in like huge the Norris. Like
now we know why they weren't trading him for Erik Karlsson a few years ago, even though Erik Karlsson had a monster season. And I was like, why aren't the Stars doing this? It's Karlsson, blah blah blah.
Yeah, no,
now we know why.
He's super impressive. So yeah, I'm big on the Stars this year. I think they're they're just deep. Their goaltending as well. Jake Ottinger, like he's one of the best like up and coming goalies. So. I'm kind of scared for Dallas. Obviously, one team I think I'm frustrated with is like the LA Kings. I honestly think that they're going to take, the Oilers. We've played them the last 2 years, and we beat them. We faced them again this year's playoffs. Who's to say we're going to beat them 3 times in a row? I don't like those odds. I really don't.
Yeah, so they're a really good mix, kind of like of Dallas. Of
for
youth.
sure.
And Kopitar is still good, but will somebody, you've got different guys coming in.
Quinn Byfield, I think, is going to take.
Not having Doughty against the Oilers, was it 2 years ago or was it last year?
2 years ago.
It makes a difference, and I think LA is another good team in the Pacific.
I like Adrian Kempe. He's a stud. He's coming off of a career year
Dubois
as well. And then they just got so that's gonna be insane.
Dubois is an interesting guy. Like there's
a
lot of
he's
hype,
overrated. I think he's a little overrated.
I don't know, and listen, I have no problem hyping a guy if he is 50-50 or 60-40, 60 offense, 40 defense instead of 90, whatever it is. But I'm just waiting for him. It's kind of like some guys are like Matt Duchene was always like, when is he going to get to that 80, 90 points consistently?
Yeah.
And, Line A had such a huge goal season.
Sure.
I'm waiting for Dubois to be that 80-point guy, and I don't know if he ever will be.
No, I don't think so either. And the one thing though is like he's got that playoff like caliber.
Sure.
He's kind of like that
Hard
kind of
to
player,
play,
right?
yeah.
Like he's a big boy, and so I'm definitely kind of scared for LA, and then obviously you can't Colorado. Like that's why I think it's just so frustrating. Last year was as good as any year. The Oilers really should have taken
right.
that, and like. Because the LA or the Vegas Golden Knights, they were, they won the Stanley Cup, good for them. But the year prior, Colorado was a way better team than Vegas's last year's team. So I think it's still frustrating to look back at that one. But out of the West, yeah, those are Dallas Stars. Watch out, for sure.
Yeah, and Colorado was banged up a bit last year.
Yeah,
and,
too.
if this year, if they'll be back in the playoffs, you might get Gabriel Landeskog back at that time, and and what an addition that could be to your team if it's the Avs, where it's like
trade addition.
Exactly, a trade deadline move without having to make a trade deadline move in terms of Landeskog potentially coming back for that team. And,
it's like Tampa with Kucherov.
Yeah,
exactly.
But he's
without
hurt.
the asterisk. Right?
He's hurt.
Gabriel Landeskog's not wearing a $118 million cap shirt or whatever on a boat.
And in the end, the Oilers, they could say you have McDavid, you have Draisaitl. They're one of the few teams out there that could say we have McKinnon, we have Makar, and there's not many teams that can match up the Oilers. And we have two great players. They're one of those teams that can sit there and we're pretty good. We're pretty happy with the two guys we've got.
Colorado, Edmonton at times can say we have the two best players in the game. So can Colorado.
Yeah,
because Cale Makar at times is the best player in the game.
The one
and
advantage
Nathan McKinnon has
they
been
have
as well.
is Makar being the defense.
Yeah.
They could say we have one of the best forwards in the game. We have the best defenseman in the game, though. And again, going back to the 06 discussion. Sure. When you have a defenseman like that, what they can do in the playoffs for a team is just
and we saw
unbelievable.
What Makar did.
Yeah.
So
he's just unbelievable.
And that's that's the one thing. I love Matthias Ekholm. I think he is not so much anymore, but in Nashville was very underrated because they're a factory there for defense.
And there was a couple guys always ahead of him.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Roman Yossi getting the attention,
even Weber
getting
was
the attention,
there and all these guys. So. For him, he's not as underrated anymore, and now he's in a Canadian market, and people are like, "Oh wow, this guy is really good," but he's not a Makar. But not many people are. But he's not a Doughty.
Yeah,
Ekholm is great, and Bouchard and Broberg, but who's your fourth? Is it Cody Ceci can't be your fourth, or the different guys, right? Yeah. Ekholm, Bouchard. Broberg,
Nurse.
Nurse. So
Kulak, CC.
So I think you would like somebody maybe that is above Kulak, CC.
Yeah,
at least one more guy. That one of those guys is going to miss time. That has the ability to be a top four defenseman. Maybe he doesn't have to be a top four defenseman all the time, but there's going to be times this season where Broberg and Bouchard are going to struggle probably.
Yeah.
And Ekholm and Nurse might not be available. So you need somebody above CC and Kulak that can slide up or be really good in that 5-6. And that's where I just don't know. You can maybe get away with that, or you have to have that superstar like Doughty, Hedman, Makar, which I don't think they have. They have really good four defensemen.
There's 32 number one defensemen in hockey, but there's not 32 number one true defensemen.
Right.
There's such a small group of people that could claim
that
they
are
a
in every
true number one
situation.
defenseman.
You got to be able to play in your PK, power play, and all shutdown and an offensive. You got to be everything. And there's guys that are number one defensemen, but they don't have the offensive ability or whatever it might be.
Right.
Ben Gleason.
I was just gonna.
Could he be a guy that then, if the injuries, or is that just too much of an unknown there?
I just don't know. Is there enough of a track record to say, yeah, sure, it could, but could is a word that, I just caution. I saw and I hate preseason everything. Preseason is all it does is get your hopes up. I mean, we only have to go back to Ty Ratty in the preseason on McDavid's line. And
Perlini.
We kept saying, this guy is not,
Patrick Forson.
Look at the track. Exactly. I mean, preseason football is the worst. Baseball, I could at least watch a little bit, but it all gets your hopes up for mostly nothing. So I would even, if you're saying, could this guy do this? I'd be waiting for the first 10 or 15 games. Even talk to the players. Preseason is just going through the motions and you're getting ready, and then the speed picks up, and then you have to adjust, and some guys come in ready, but I'd at least wait 10, 15
For
games
sure.
before you think, yeah, sure, anybody could, but don't judge on the preseason because it's just, there's too many weak lineups you're playing against.
Yeah. No, for sure. I agree. I think as far as Ben Gleason goes, his numbers, I looked at his hockey DB or whatever, and it definitely, nothing came at you. Nothing was like super impressive. But I will say, like, the eye test has been a lot more impressive than the numbers that I was looking at. Like, he's looked actually fine. Like, right now, I'd have him over Desharnais, like, a lot. But like you said, it's preseason. How much of that can you really?
I think he'll be first call up this year.
Sure,
like
yeah,
I think
so.
that's where we're penciling him right now.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be putting him anywhere else with this team to start the season.
I don't know, and it's all it is potential, right? But maybe it's a maybe, right? So
Well, I look at Vincent Desharnais last year. There was no one really, no one knew what you were going to expect. And then when he first came to the team, like this team wasn't losing with him in the lineup. He just brought this different element to the team, and maybe Ben Gleason could do that to this team.
But that
this year.
only lasts two, right? We saw that drop off after a
Well,
while.
he just said Gleason may be better than Desharnais,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
right. And that's the thing is you're looking at maybe just a guy to fill 4 or 5 games and provide something different, and then somebody else does. There's nothing wrong with those guys being revolving doors as long, it's not like you're relying on a different guy every night to play 25 minutes.
For sure. Yeah. No, if it's done anything, at least it's like even though it is preseason, at least these, look at the management, the coaching staff, they know. They're like, okay, we do see what you're doing out there. You may not start, but we've seen what you've been able to do.
This text coming in, 780-218-9999, Paris Jewelers inbox from Hontorio Momes. Ekholm is better than Drew Doughty right now.
Hey, everybody's allowed to have their own opinion.
Yeah.
That's a hot take right there.
Doughty's
been in the league for a long time.
I would not agree with that. I love Ekholm, but I would, and that's fine.
That's a hot take.
That's an
That is a
Oiler
hot
take.
take.
That's
Sure.
an
Kind
Oiler
of an
fan
Oiler
take.
take.
I don't think you would get that opinion in 31 other cities in the NHL.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's fine. Everybody's allowed to have their opinion.
There will be some if you took that. No, not the Matthias Ekholm part.
Like, I don't even think Nashville fans would say that, man.
But
but that's fine.
At some point, Doughty starts losing his step.
Sure,
and there's
he
going to be
does.
the reputation
Yeah.
with Doughty that sometimes when you talk about Doughty's game, you think about the Drew Doughty
Doughty
that
of
was there in
old.
2010 as a 19-year-old or whatever it was at the Olympics and the Stanley Cups and all that. At some point, he does take that step back.
Yeah, Doughty
I
has
won't go
more
as far
miles,
as saying Drew Doughty's better than Matthias
Like,
Ekholm
honestly,
right
if
now,
you're
but-
building a team right now and you have the choice of those two guys, that one guy would. What's his name?
it was Hontorio
Oh,
Momes.
Hontorio. He's taking Ekholm. That's fine. I'm sure if he's in a draft and Doughty and Ekholm are there, and he took Ekholm, the person behind him. If that was me, I'd be really happy.
thrilled.
But
Like,
maybe
what are you
this year, the miles catch up to Doughty. I mean, Ekholm has not played.
But then that's not right now. To what he was saying. So that's where
So
the
going into
disagreement
this
comes.
season, I would take Doughty over Ekholm 8 days a week.
I still
as
would
the
too.
Beatles said.
I would too, for sure. I think Doughty, and I'm big on the right shot as well, and that's nice.
But that is a take. That's for sure.
Crackerjack, hey Matty, Bouchard's going to get 19 goals, 50 assists this season. That's funny, actually. Speaking of,
You think
that's
19
Jack.
goals and 50
assists. So that we're talking about 69 points. Here's the thing, because we may have messed things up for
I could
cool
say
bet.
the 19 goals, but the assists are going
That's
to be
pretty high.
Yeah.
But how many?
Somebody else is getting the assist to set him up.
What did
Yeah.
Tyson Barrie get last year
And
with the Oilers?
It's a small sample size, but
I don't know about the 50 assists.
Bouchard
That's
was
me.
a point per game player in last year's playoffs.
Double-digit goals, yeah.
So Tyson
Yeah.
Barrie had 10 goals, 33 assists in 61 games. So in
So
three
that's what I
quarters
mean.
of a season. So it beat 50's pretty high.
50 is somebody else is feeding him for 19. 50, he's also feeding. So I could say like 19, 25, 30 maybe, but
Yeah.
I don't know about 50.
I think
Double-digit
it's-
goals for sure. I think Bouchard, double-digit goals
Yeah,
with that bomb for sure is.
I think his goals will be up. I'm thinking probably. I think he might hit the 20s, honestly, like low 20s for sure. But
in goals.
yeah,
Wow.
I'm big on just on the power play, man. And he's starting to shoot, and it's nice. Like his first
if
year,
your power play is like 70%
Yeah,
or whatever,
right?
the Oilers,
It's nice.
it's like a preseason power play for them. It's so gross.
Except
man.
their preseason power play hasn't been as good.
Yeah,
this year.
that is
It's
funny.
just-
They're
just
saving
sucked.
it all, but
Well, it's funny though. We kind of at the start of all of Edmonton sports talk on the Nielsen show, we kind of ruined things for Coolbet because they had 2 bets for Evan Bouchard. Total goals regular season, they set it at 10.5.
oh man.
So we hammered the over on that one, and the
sure.
line shifted like right away after we
like-
all jumped on it.
No doubt.
And then Evan Bouchard's total points, we got it at 44.5 points.
yeah,
His
that's
career high, what did we have? Career high, I think was like
his
was it
rookie
career
season,
high.
Rookie
Was
season.
there was 42 or like
43, I think.
I could see him going 15-25.
Interesting.
Cause if he's getting so many goals, it's gonna be hard.
he had 40 points last year, 8 goals, 32 assists.
41 the year before.
So we got it the over under at 44.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
here's
I
but here's
think
the thing.
15-25. I don't think
Interesting.
that's too far off. Like maybe
No.
I'm going way too low on the assists, but
I think a little
he's
low
just
on the
gonna be the
assists.
trigger man.
I think a little low on the assists because of the power play.
Yeah, probably.
Because he
So
didn't have that
15-30
last year.
maybe.
And he takes over for Tyson Barrie this year full time.
Honestly, I think
Yeah, he's probably going to get assists right off his shot, right?
Yep.
It's like
Oh, for
Nugent
sure.
Hopkins in junior. His shot was so good, he would get the POP, the pass off the pad assist all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
and maybe Bouchard's going to get that. So maybe I'm going too low on. I just don't want to get like. I hate throwing out like a number like 19-20 for a younger guy, but with this power play.
Yeah.
You're right. It could be so deadly. If you're scoring 2 power play goals a game, you might get like at least 1 point every game off the power play.
this might be a bold take, but
Like Ekholm is better than Downey.
Yeah, but
If you can go bolder than that, I'm looking forward to it.
well, yeah, maybe not that bold, but if there's any Oiler, like you give any Oiler the time and space, just with the heaviness and the accurate like shot, I think it's Bouchard. Like I think his shot is, I think it's heavier. That like he can just rip it, and in his first season. You know, he had that seeing eye shot. We were able to see, what he did in junior, and he just flick it. It's so impressive. And last year, the puck wasn't going through. He was getting blocked. Like it was every single shot I seen. I remember.
And that
Just, it was tough.
that's a learning thing
Yeah,
too,
it is.
right?
It
Like
is.
it's guys learn where to put those shots.
Yeah, and just in like the playoffs last year, like again, it is a small sample size, but he was starting to. His confidence was at an all-time high. It's very early on in his career, but he was ripping that puck like no tomorrow. And every time, I'm not even joking, every one of his shots, you can look it up. Like it's always ding in. Like he's a sniper. Like he picks those corners like no tomorrow. So I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting to see. I'm big on Bouch, but. Yeah, I guess time will only tell.
Here's the thing about Bouchard. Just when you look at the final 20 games of last year's season, when he filled in once Barrie got traded away, in 20 games regular season, Bouchard had 5 goals and 14 assists for 19 points.
Yeah.
So he had almost halfway to 30 points in a quarter of the season. Power play, I think this, if I'm reading it, 2 goals, 6 assists on the power play.
In
last
20
year,
games.
in those 20 games. So like that's where the value does come from
Oh, of
Evan
course,
Bouchard. Like
yeah.
this year, if you're looking at his numbers and if you want to take the jump, because like the Oilers scored an insane amount of goals as a team. So naturally, like if McDavid's going to have his and Draisaitl's going to have his and Nugent Hopkins going to have his, then there's only so much other like you can't expect from others. So
There is a natural evolution
there's
of a
a
team,
hole
though,
there.
right? A team, and you look at a lot of teams that have gone on to win, is they're as the there's that graph, the bleep around and find out or whatever. So the Oilers as a young team, their offense is here, and as they get better as a team and get better defensively and more, as they grow and mature, their offense is going to come down a little bit overall, I think, and they're going to be a better team. It happened to Detroit.
Yeah.
I think we saw it in Tampa. They started learning. These teams that are putting up, as insane amount of goals, winning in shootouts, it gets like back and forth. It gets tiring. You want to lock it down. So as they get better and realize we're playing better hockey, maybe some of their numbers do come down because we see that over time in teams. I'm not sure if it's this year with this power play. Why this power play could just, and maybe that's 5-on-5. Their offensive numbers come down, but their power play stays up here. Yeah. But there is a sort of a natural evolution of teams that go through that process of, we don't have to outscore all of our stakes. Let's just not make them in the first place.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's crazy. We're still waiting on, McDavid to have that dip.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll ever have it.
But he's going in like it.
Maybe when he hangs up, when he retires, he'll have that. But there are other guys that, like we saw Steve Yzerman go through it, right? Yep. Sidney Crosby, the gaudy numbers, and then they just become different players. Again, I don't know if we'll ever see McDavid less than 120
be a dip at some point from what he's at. He's going to stop hitting career highs.
I don't know. This guy is like,
I want to sit there and say, like, well, come on.
I'm pretty sure at some point there's going to be, but like, look at like Mike Bossy had almost a 50-goal season every year, then 38 and retired. Yeah. So maybe McDavid, when he's like, wow, I'm not getting 120 points, I'm done. I don't know.
Don't say that.
But like,
Oilers fans don't want that.
But like, it's crazy. Like this guy just keeps going and going, and you wonder. The only thing, what might slow him down is him getting bored. Let's be like, I'm going to go play baseball like Michael Jordan or something. Like it's just, I just think there's some guys that, Nugent Hopkins took a bump. I don't think we're going to see him up there all the time.
You would have to think there'd be a drop off for Nugent.
For sure. Right. Nugent, Draisaitl and McDavid, maybe not though.
No. I think when you're looking at a McDavid, it's like 153 points last year or somewhere around there. Like,
don't you expect more?
I could see him going 170.
That's what I mean.
I could also see him doing 130. And it's still being a great season because maybe
130 points is a ridiculous
exactly,
season.
Right? And so
our expectations are so high.
But I could see him going put up 70 goals this year. Like I wouldn't be. I'm not going to bet against him
my
anymore.
Expectations for McDavid are setting career highs in points again every year until I see visibly maybe he's not there every year. I am not underestimating that guy at all because
so crazy
he is and the guys like McDavid and Crosby and Jason Strudwick mentioned this is they work so much when you don't even know it. Like they're working late in night. The stories of Jaromir Jagr being at the rink at 3 a.m. to skate and stuff is these guys push and push and push because that's all they know. They want to do it. So it's hard to predict any kind of a drop off with today's athlete because they are so well conditioned and so working on their craft that they're in peak for so much longer.
On the
high end guys.
The game's designed for also the skill too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's fast,
like scoring's going up, which is great.
It's not a garage league like Mario called it in the 90s.
It's crazy because like growing up, I never thought that I'd be able to I thought the 120, 130, 140 point seasons, those were long past. This was the new NHL.
You missed the 215 point seasons.
I know. Like that's why
the 92 goals.
I missed those too.
So
man,
that
jealous. Was the goaltending not as good,
wasn't
the equipment not as good, but man, the gaudy numbers of the 50 goal score. If you weren't a 30 goal scorer back then, it was like, oh, you're not that good. Now 30 is the new 50, right? From if you get 30 now, it's like, awesome.
That's a really respectable season. Yeah. So, and I remember, I think it was Jamie Benz, his Art Ross winning season, 88 points in 2014, something like that, 87. And I'm like, hey, this is the new standard. And so it's so nice that scoring's up. And like McDavid coming off, and now we're talking 170. That's just remarkable. So
the Rocket Richard,
it's great.
The 1 year Nash and Iginla tied, and they tied with 41 goals.
Yeah,
and it's like you should almost not give it out if there isn't a 50-goal scorer. Right? It's the Rocket, it's 50 and 50, right? It's just it seems kind of like it's odd that you give it out and there's not a 50, but it is what it is. That was the time of the game.
That's where we were in hockey at the time.
So good to be back in a different.
It is.
But even I never thought we'd get to this level too. Where it's like last year, how many guys? Like we had a bunch of guys hit over 100 last season in the National Hockey League. Like
and 2 in the 60, which hasn't been done since Mario and Jagr in 95, 96, which is great.
When we went through the 04-05 lockout, and we came out of it, and they wanted to increase scoring, and we saw some scoring, and we saw. I figured that would be what we'd have for hockey.
It's elevated
that's the higher.
More,
and somehow in that time, we found a way to see this game get elevated higher. And it's just so much fun to watch.
It's what scares me is like, what are they going to have to do in 20 years
I know.
with this game. Like, what are the athletes going to be like? Are we going to get to a point where we can't have referees and we have eye in the sky refs?
Well, we should
because
already have
bodies
that
are,
to a degree.
there's too many bodies. Like, you're talking 12, 16 people on the ice right now. At some point, if in 20 years, are we going to, like, is the rink's going to have to be bigger? Like, what's it going to be like then? Or...
Well, baseball's wanting to get more runs. Basketball's wanting more
Every
offense.
sport, yeah.
NFL's wanting more offense. Hockey's wanting more offense. Is there a point people are going to want the defense? Is there going to be that change where people are going to say this is a little too high, and we're going to have that cycle where we're going to start trying to see things put in place to try to bring things
like
down?
6 games in the 80s. People loved it. People will never complain.
So then how did we get to what happened in the 90s?
Because coaching.
So
it's coaching.
So what coach is going to start sitting there and create the revolution in all those sports?
They're trying.
That is going to bring the offense
They're always
back
trying.
down.
Coaches are always trying to do that. Like, you look at 13-year-olds playing hockey or 8-year-olds playing hockey, and the skill is great. And then you look at that player in, like, when he's 20, and some coach has sucked the creativity out of and forced him off the glass and out. So we need coaches, plug for the JPHL, where skill is pushed, that teach that and do not suck that creativity and that skill
100%.
out. And you know what? If a kid's personality comes out in his play, oh my goodness, what a terrible thing.
Yeah.
We don't all have to be robots saying pucks in deep, off the glass and out. It's okay to do the Michigan goal.
Yes.
We don't need button down. So that's how we ensure that this game continues, is we let kids be kids, and then when they get older, we don't suck it out of them, because, or otherwise, we don't have these amazing highlights that we have now. So, and I think and I'll say this, that coaching mentality that I was talking about, I think is like going the way of the dinosaur, and more coaches are today's player. You can't just say go do crossovers. They want to know why, and that's good. That's good. They want to be a part of it. They want to be, they're not just robots going and doing what they're told. And they're not talking back saying, why are we doing this? But why is this going to help me? You have to explain. Ken Hitchcock, when he came into Edmonton that time, and he said that, he goes, I wasn't sure he was going to be the right coach. I'm still not sure he was the right coach, but he even said today's player is different. And that's where I started thinking, like, you have to involve the player. It's almost like partnership now. And you do that by not saying dump it in and reaming the kid out for trying a toe drag release or a fun celebration or something. You never want to show up your opponent, I don't think. You want to be respectful, but you can have creativity and personality in sport. And hockey players have great personalities. They have just been beat down so much over about hockey culture and not standing out. And it's, to quote Wayne Gretzky at the 2002 Olympics, it's a crock of crap.
Yeah. No, it's just one thing here quickly. I watched a video, it was maybe a year ago, but Gretzky says, that's one thing that it's definitely changed. When he was growing up, the creativity, he's like, that's one thing. That's where I learned all these new ways to score. I was always pushing or just, doing extra things that no one was thinking of. And as hockey evolves, you're going to want to, see that a lot more. And you look at Trevor Zegras, one of the most creative players in the NHL right now. A lot of people, and I forget who it was, but someone, maybe his agent, told him, is like, no, like, a lot of people are not liking you doing this. Ryan Getzlaf was like, no, Trevor, we have full support. Keep doing that, and that's your captain.
Torts didn't like it.
Yeah, Torts. Yeah, like a lot of people say, and it's. No, you need that. As the hockey, you're gonna find new ways to score, and that's exciting about the sport. The lacrosse style goals, some people don't like it. I mean, come on, it's flashy, it's great, it's great for the game. So no, I 100%.
I wanted Bedard to go to Anaheim so bad.
Me
just
too.
because of that. Bedard with
connection.
that skill set. Oh my goodness.
And then with McTavish, who they lit it up at the World Juniors for 2 years.
And you have McDavid, Bedard in the same. Like,
that's
the team I was picking.
And Eichel here now too in the same
division
and stuff.
It would have been great.
Would have been a stacked
right.
Pacific division.
Yeah.
It would have been something else. D. Millard from For Vengeance Media, YouTube. Trev Iwanyk with you here on the EST Hangout. We'll take a short time out right away here. But Rip City is Steph in the inbox. 780-218-9999, saying the best thing for hockey will be the Oilers to win the cup with no dip in offense, because it is a copycat league, and if the Oilers go out and win the cup, people are going to try to then do what the Oilers did. If they're doing it with a high-powered offense, then for how long do we get that high-powered offense in hockey? Like I said, we're going to take a quick timeout here on the Hangout. When we come back, I think Lieutenant Eric is going to slide in here on the Hangout. So stick around. Short break of under 3 minutes. We'll be back here on the EST Hangout.
The Nielsen Show.
Elks kicker Dean Faithful had that project management job.
Well, you're an adult now.
I was an adult. Yeah, I'd grown up earning some money, and mum and dad were proud.
Yeah.
And
Who's your son? He's a project manager. That's a big deal. Yeah.
He manages projects, which I don't know what that means.
No, nobody does.
No. I think in my interview for that job, why do you think you can be a project manager? I said it's like making a sandwich. A project's like making a sandwich. You get 2 bits of bread, you get your meat, and you slap it together. And they were like that. And I think that's what got me the job. I was like, it's as simple as making a sandwich.
The Nielsen Show featuring Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings at 6, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio, Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla, as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District, Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey, Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. And takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
And we return here on the EST. Perfect timing, Dino. I thought we were gonna.
What the heck was that?
Oh, our chairs make this big farting noise, so
that's a
don't have to
whoopee
worry about
cushion
that.
chair.
I was worried that no one else was gonna be here for the start of the segment, and I just
Everybody
scared
failed.
everyone away.
Everybody
In the
failed.
start of that. And now, Dean Millard from For Vengeance Media, Matt Iwanyk with you here on the EST Hangout. Thanks to YouTube, Trev, for joining us in the first hour of the show. But now I have to bring into the show, I need a full introduction. The host of the Nielsen Show, co-host, Lieutenant Eric. Welcome to
Hey, Dean and Matt.
the Nielsen Show.
Gift for you right there.
Look at that.
What is that?
That is a
Waka?
Manchester United clock.
A
Courtesy
Man U clock.
Our friends
this
at Paris
from?
Jewelers.
Oh, well, thank you,
mackerel.
Paris Jewelers.
And that's something.
That is amazing.
Weren't expecting that, were ya?
No,
Do they have
I
like
was not.
other teams that they do, like Boulevard? Or
I-
is that
you
just
don't need
a
to do
Man
other
U?
teams.
You don't need
You don't need to do other teams.
Wow.
Let's show the camera
Custom
this
made
one.
for you there. Yeah. Look
That
at that thing.
is sweet.
I'd laugh. It's just a wristwatch in there, eh? Big box and just kind of a.
Just a giant.
amazing.
Then there's
Still-
7
still good.
boxes
Yeah.
in that you have to
I
go
will
through.
say,
And then,
that's going. I need stuff for my office, so that's going to be perfect for
Isn't
the
that
office.
something? Yeah.
We don't need to go into what happened with them yesterday.
No, I didn't mention that. You like that? I didn't bring
but
that
that
up
is
at all this
beautiful.
morning. Eh? Yeah.
With the
it's good.
red, too.
I got a Rider fan that's watching
Okay.
from North Battleford. So my cousin Doug and my
yeah.
wife Trish are there. And so you being a Rider fan, I know you guys would. He's also a Leaf fan. I'm not sure.
That doesn't
Sorry
really
about
cross
his
paths with
luck.
me,
but
but,
Rider, the Rider pride this year.
Oh, the green and white. It took a hit on multiple fronts this week with obviously the passing of George Reed. That was
course,
that,
yes.
that. I mean,
What a
trumps the
legendary
game.
The just the name alone in Canadian football and in Saskatchewan, that guy, there should be statues.
He had, and there is, and people were laying flowers at it. He the rushing record, of course, held for so long. The touchdown record still
Kringle,
standing.
yeah.
I mean, just the thighs on the guy.
Oh my goodness!
I never got to watch him play, but from what I've heard,
his daughter was the track coach at the U of A, and so
she went up with Canada shot put. I believe she specialized in or something like that. But off the field, I mean, he did a lot of things with Canada games and special, and that's the true test of time, right? And being remembered. So his passing obviously hit people. I think they're honoring the 2013 Grey Cup team this coming weekend. So all of that's kind of coinciding into one. The team's riding like a 3-4 game. I can't keep track anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not counting anymore. I refuse. So it's a strange season, I guess, being a fan of the green and white. But we're used to that by now.
That's right.
That's old hat for us. So
being a Bomber guy, there was like 8 teams in the league, and the Bombers and the Riders could not win a title for so long.
You went through the jungle yourself.
It was
there,
it was like, how can the team I cheer for have not won since '88? And there's 8 teams. Like, it's ridiculous. And the Riders had this long streak too. Was it 86? Or?
I'm doing it in our 4-man CFL fantasy team. I'm the one team to not yet win a title, but that's
even worse.
Show.
We've done
You cannot
8 years.
8 years in a 4-man.
Is that not
amazing?
amazing? Is that not amazing?
He's been in the I think I've beaten you all 3 of my
You're
titles.
like the
I beat
Buffalo
you.
Bills a little bit.
And I'm a Bills
wide
fan.
right. Oh,
You've been there
so
4
that's
or 5
perfect.
times.
If I tried to lose next year,
Is your
I'll
manager
probably
Scott
win.
Norwood? Like,
It's too soon.
Okay.
Too soon. But it goes to show it is tough. You can have a great season, and we're talking about a hockey team here too. That we're all saying, oh, who are they going to face in the Stanley Cup final? You need to go
you're
through
right.
the motions and get there, and then when you get there, you need to win it.
yeah,
which is-
probably the best Oiler team never got to the finals, right? 86 was a
that's sports,
pretty
baby.
good Oiler team.
When that was a weird little pop up on our computer. When it comes to like rotisserie baseball, there's an I don't know if he's ever won it since. Rotisserie baseball, which basically has launched fantasy football, the guy who created it never won.
That is wild.
There was an ESPN 30 for 30 on
That's
it.
so good.
Small
Yeah.
Potatoes, was it that one?
The guys
Was it
that
different one?
invented it, right?
But the main guy that invented it and stuff, he had done it year after year and had never actually won.
What's his? How many years? I mean, we're talking here. We're coming up on a decade for us.
Well, this,
Like
this is like we're talking. If I'm not mistaken, like was it the 80s or was it the 90s?
It started in the 80s.
Is it the and then we're talking about like the 2010s? This stock came out.
But he had still not won over like a period
The
of
whole
30
time.
years.
Like he had been in this league
I mean,
for
that's
like the
I'm
longest
going
period
to get
of time.
it eventually. Here, but
how
that's-
many-
He had never won. That's why I kind of like want you not to keep winning.
It's a great
'cause
story.
Like,
So,
it's amazing.
it's a great
and
story.
Scott McCord won. Scott McCord from
Yeah.
the Bear has a win in this
he doesn't.
league
He
somehow.
drafts dead guys.
I
It's
know he
hilarious.
does. He's like a real CFL team.
exactly.
So how many? If that was low tide, how many trees would he have chopped down? Because the greatest story of all, I told this story on the
With Jay
weekend out in
Riemenschneider
Vancouver.
or whatever it is. Yeah.
The tree that he chopped down over rotisserie baseball, and that's why low tide
Someone
doesn't play. As a
blew
pitcher,
save or got the
and he
save
was getting
going
like the.
against
It
them.
was pre-internet, so he's
Yeah.
getting like these
But it
kind of
wasn't- it
reports.
wasn't
he
even-
gets a call for. He got a call.
Yeah,
I think,
that's
at the time
right.
from
It
someone.
was the call.
And he hung up
You'd
and he
phone
went out
in.
and he just
Yeah.
chopped the tree.
You phone in to get the box.
But here's
score.
he wasn't mad at what transpired. He wasn't mad that he had lost seen the stats. His friend phones and just laughed. There
And
were no
then-
words
yeah.
spoken. It was that laughter from the guy and then that just cuts you. It's a dentist
It
drill right
is,
up the
it
spine,
is.
And that's why he got out of fantasy
That's
baseball.
it, yeah.
That was the moment that got him out of it.
probably saved years of his life.
Thanks again to Paris Jewelers for it's a
So
numbered
cool.
limited edition clock.
Wow.
I just
so
want to
where
throw
is
that
this
out there.
going to go?
It's going to go in my office. That's easily going to go in
that's
my
what you
office
think.
and stuff. I can't wait to open that thing
Oh well,
up.
there might
Paris
be a few more
Jewelers.
surprises in your office as well.
Oh,
I'm just gonna leave
my
that there. That's something to look forward to here.
Oh, see, I'm stuck here this whole time. Also, just quickly want to mention that we have Lieutenant Eric is wearing the wonderful Edmonton Sports Talk hat. Which hopefully this month we'll have everything for sale or some merch for sale. We'll slowly add stuff. We'll have a store on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. I have a meeting later today with our partners for the merch, and that is the Hive Product Marketing, the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk, promotional products that bring the buzz. Check them out at thehiveproductmarketing.com. Ask for Chelsea. She'll take care of you just like she's taking care of us here at Edmonton Sports Talk. And then eventually, hopefully, we're going to have some stuff to give away to our guests of the Hangout since you've already been here. You're in the queue. Like,
Oh,
we'll
nice.
back pay that
Two
stuff,
caps.
dude.
That's
Don't worry.
nice.
We'll
Yeah.
back pay
So,
stuff for you, Dino.
Should I wear like one this way and this way?
You do you, man. man.
back and front.
You can curve that brim however you want, or keep the sticker on. I mean, it's yours.
Could you like
I
flat
literally-
brim?
Here's the question.
Literally played hockey with a guy in high school. We went to the States, and he bought a Chicago Bulls hat and left the sticker and the tag on.
Oh, the
and
tag.
the tag and the
Tag's a
sticker.
weird
And we're
one.
like, hey, Sheldon, are you going to take that off? He's like, no, this is the cool way. I saw some guy in the store. And I'm like, yeah, that guy was just trying it on. He wasn't like wearing it.
Oh, that's all they do in
But
Chicago.
that's what. So he wore it like back to school, the tag, and then I think he eventually took it off when he realized. But I'm like, no, that guy was just like checking to see what it looked like. But
Chicago style with the tag on.
I guess
that's
the
what
Bulls.
I don't
Bulls
mind the
wear it that
sticker,
way.
depending what it is. I don't mind having the sticker.
No,
Some
see,
of them
the
are less
longer
stickers.
the longer you leave the sticker though,
fades.
there's a
But if you get
mark.
one under,
But then so you can't take it off at that point.
some put
Yeah,
under
so it
with the
looks
league
really
shield.
I have a hat that I've kept the little sticker on for a long time
you'd
now.
never be able to
and
take
I've
it
like
off.
it's kind of getting a little undone. I was like, I should rip this off now. And I looked under. I was like, oh, that's
No.
like completely black. It's
Yeah.
not faded or
It's
anything. So okay,
changed.
the sticker's got to
It
stay
has
right
to
now.
stay.
You
Yeah.
put stickers under the brim as a kid. We'd get like
Yes.
baseball,
No.
hockey card stickers, and you'd
Yes,
Must
It,
have been
it was a
Saskatchewan
trend.
thing?
It was a trend for a while. Well, no,
I did that.
interprovincial, but it was a kid thing. It was.
It didn't get past the border of Manitoba.
It didn't get past puberty. I don't think that was the whole
That's
thing.
right, yeah.
You grew up and you're like, oh, why am I ruining my cap? But you
Just
curve them. You're a curve.
yeah,
I mean,
well,
But that's
Some of them,
that's
it depends.
that hat is a curve.
This
It
is
a curve thing.
I like the flat brim on some
On
of
this
them. I'm
type
not
of style.
sure I can pull it off,
but you're flexible.
but I
either
try.
way. Like,
I'll,
you
I'll
can-
give it
yeah.
a try.
I don't pull these off, but by the way, this hat is also from the Hive product
yeah.
marketing. Whale and the Wolf's hat.
There you go.
Oh, that is
they got
cool.
the Hive helps out Whale and the
New
Wolf and
album,
stuff.
right? Like,
Yeah, great
you
album.
got it.
Envy.
pretty impressive. Live
check
music
it out
is
now.
the best. I unfortunately had tickets for Iron Maiden this past weekend. I had to go to Vancouver.
Ah.
So every time somebody hit the post, I would just do a few lyrics from like Run to the Hills. or
That's a
something.
nice homage.
Yeah,
in your
every
way
time
to,
somebody hits the post, I say a little Iron Maiden ringing out. You can hear it all the way from Edmonton.
Did you ever attend a music show here while this was the old the studio
No,
meat hall? Any of that?
I've
you weren't
heard,
one of those
but
people?
my
Yeah.
wife did.
Oh,
okay.
She was a veteran here. I think she maybe
was a
danced
veteran.
on some speakers or
I
something.
love
I'm
it.
not sure.
If you could get just whatever band she may have saw just for the book that we're going to
yeah,
be
I
writing
think
here.
like Beethoven maybe or
oh, okay.
something.
Now you're.
I'm just no.
It's
She'd
very
bring her into the
classical.
hangout.
Yeah.
She can extrapolate on it.
She'll try to hire Matthew.
I worked with
Matthew
her.
is
I worked
the
for her.
one.
Oh,
At
Matthew
Aquila.
is
The one that got away.
She is
I
literally.
was
He is the one that
cable
got away
pulled for them and stuff.
professionally. I hope, unless there's something they're not telling me about. But she wanted to hire him,
Yep.
and then he ended up at the radio station, and has always said, that's the one guy I wanted to hire." And then when we went at For Vengeance Media. And then the whole thing happened. I'm like, said to Dustin, I said, "What's going on with Matthew?" He's like,
Oh,
we already knocked him off. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
"Fair."
yeah. And the value has just risen
Apparently,
dramatically
yes,
over that. I mean,
yes.
he's cost like 4 times as he did back then. I'd say.
yes.
at least.
He's got clocks and everything.
I got this big clock.
I really hope it's a wristwatch. I mean, like you said, opening box after box after box, and it's a little timepiece.
Well,
there.
that'd be
and you'll
that'd
take
just
it.
be
yeah,
well,
yeah.
it does say wood wall clock.
Without
right
even
on
Well,
it.
a
that's
strap,
right.
though.
That
Not
part.
even a strap.
Not even
Unless
you
you
buy your own.
carry it.
Unless
Yeah.
this is the size of the watch.
That's
I
not
have
bad.
to. Maybe it's like I'll go Flava
necklace.
Flav.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
And I'll put the clock
Sure.
around me
Where
and walk
did
around.
I just
You roll
see
into
Flavor
one like
Flav? I think he was in a Dodgers game or something. He was walking around with
boy.
the. Still
That's
does
still
the-
that's got to be
He did
wearing
that
him
show
down,
with
like-
Martha
Yeah.
Stewart, didn't he?
No, that was
he-
Snoop
I
Dogg.
don't know.
Then who
Flavor
did he
Flav
do a
and
show with?
Martha Stewart.
No, then who did he do a
Didn't he
show
have a
with?
roast or
Because you're
something?
right. Snoop Dogg did have something.
There's a
Martha Stewart.
cooking show.
But I thought Flava Flav did something with the.
Well, he was
clock.
on like one of those celebrity.
He did a roast. It was a roast, was it not? Or he was on.
Oh, they did a roast?
something.
yeah,
I know what you're
he's
talking
at a
about.
roast.
He was also on because I think he hooked up with Bridget Nielsen or something like that on Celebrity.
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
Big, whatever that show was.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the weirdest couple.
But
He's in the
that's-
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Everybody-
and Iron
everybody's in
Maiden
rock.
is
They need-
not.
They
Everybody's
need to
in
change
rock.
that name.
No. Iron Maiden is not. Iron Maiden, the last 2 years, Soundgarden is not in.
You
Dolly
don't-
Parton is in.
You don't want to be in there now. You
You do
create
not.
your own-
Well, it
it's
should
like
be the
Howard
Music Hall
Stern
of
does
Fame
not
now.
want to be in the
Yeah,
Broadcasting Hall of
exactly,
Fame
exactly.
because he should be.
It's filled with a bunch
Iron
of
Maiden and if you have Chris Cornell, how's
Change the
Chris
name.
Cornell band not in? Like it drives me crazy that Maiden is not in, Soundgarden is not in, and some of the bands that you look and
I
you're
think
like,
Mary J. Blige got, and I
Yeah,
love Mary
that's
J.
right.
Blige. I
That's
mean,
right.
it's not that you hate those
but it's
people,
not.
but
It's just called the Music Hall
why?
of Fame.
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
Exactly.
It's not
not
rock
that
and
anymore.
roll.
Yeah.
They've gotten away from the name of what
It's
that
stupid.
is.
Yeah.
Although
And-
original rock and roll, I mean, if you really trace it back, is more rootsy. And
But even like people say, "Oh, why is this person in the Hockey Hall of Fame?" Because it's the Hockey Hall of Fame,
Well, it's
not
hockey,
the NHL Hall.
But if you're
of
putting
Fame.
like ball hockey guys in there now, and you're like, because it's hockey,
Yeah, that's- yeah.
like
well, yeah, but I'm saying if you were to
Ice
put
hockey.
like
field hockey.
And that people really love that one if we start calling it Ice Hockey Hall of Fame.
Well,
it drives me
but you're
crazy.
right. I don't recognize the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
I personally don't.
Like, I'd like to go
have
there and see it, but I don't want to because it's tainted for me because of the.
You also have to be in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's
probably why I don't want to go there.
That's what. Although I'm not gonna lie, like
I'm sure Cleveland people say jokes about Edmonton, though. You also have to go to Edmonton.
they'd have to know about us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I do like the one thing that is great about Cleveland, Drew Carey show. And
Yeah,
how
that's
great
true.
that show was.
You would
And
think
isn't the-
Cleveland Rock.
you
Isn't
think
the
there's
Pro
some tour
Football
there,
Hall
right?
of Fame is in Canton, which is
Yeah,
got
it's really
But
close.
if you go to
So-
Cleveland, there's got to be some Drew Carey thing that you could do, like a buzz beer
I would think
tour
so.
or
But like
something.
that's a show I wish you could still watch.
Best.
There's got to be a Mimi statue somewhere in Cleveland,
Yeah,
right?
the whole bit, the pool table. You go shoot around
Craig
in the pool table in the
Ferguson's
back.
on that show. Like that's Craig Ferguson starting North America.
I loved that show.
It was. a
Which
good show.
is
He
Drew
was the
Carey
boss,
show,
right?
or-
Craig Ferguson
Yeah.
was the boss.
Yeah. And maybe it's because we
And
can't
those
watch
guys
it when we
that
want.
do
Maybe that's-
improv, they're all so good.
Yes,
They're all
yeah.
improv.
Ryan Stiles, is that who?
That's the one,
the,
and I can't remember
tall
what the
guy
other
there.
one is.
They're so good. I love that improv show where Drew Carey would do that. It was
Whose line
so,
is it? Whose line is it? Anyways,
So
back in the
funny.
day, that really was at the top.
Improv.
They still
you know
do
what?
it though.
Yeah, improv
Aisha
is
Taylor's
awesome.
the
Like,
host.
We've gone to a few stand-up comedy shows in Edmonton. We've kind of like with a group of us, and you get some really good stuff. I do find I went to a show and I'm like, wow, this guy, and this guy told the same jokes. Sex, and sex. I'm like, okay, that's a little. So when I see improv or smart comedy, I love it because I know improv. You don't have a whole bunch of sex jokes, lined up. You're going like this. And the best people are improv. It's like live television.
Well, your brain's going along because you don't know what's coming next. And
you can read a teleprompter all your life. Then you get thrown into a live radio situation or anything, you don't know what you're doing, right? So I love improv.
At the radio station, there was times where we tried getting certain TV people to come like fill in as guest hosts, and they wouldn't want to do it because it's so
prompter.
different. And you're the one that knows this better than us, even just having to go from TV and radio and doing both, and that they're very different.
It's so here in TV. 30 seconds is like if you're 30 seconds heavy in TV, people are freaking out. Or you watch somebody try and fill 30 seconds in TV, and I'm not ripping on TV.
That's
but
an improv I'd pay to watch.
But it's very scripted.
It's different because
structured.
if they're by themselves.
Yeah.
If you have another person, you're just
Then
bantering. It's fine. But in radio, like 30 seconds, you didn't even tell anybody you have 30 seconds ever. It's like you got 10 minutes left to fill in this segment, or
especially on the talk side of this,
whatever it is, right?
We had 45 minutes at the radio station to fill.
Yeah.
Music side, I think on average you have maybe 15 to fill
exactly.
overall in an
Nothing.
hour.
You're trying to fit it all in. Whereas TV, you go from TV and it's script, and if somebody tells you we're a minute heavy, that's a crisis. While in radio, it's like, okay, what do you want to talk about for the next 45 minutes or whatever it is? So it is so different. That's the one thing that's helped me in getting into play-by-play is being able to fill time without sounding like you're filling time.
I mean, if you're
because nobody wants to hear you fill time, they want to think you know what you're
But
doing.
you just also grabbing the newspaper near you and you're starting to
you're
read
going,
it.
box
and,
scores,
birthdays
let's see what's on the rink boards
Scorpios
tonight.
today.
Just going through it. Oh, let's get into the comics section.
Yeah,
This is a funny one.
Yeah,
But you're used to reading a teleprompter so much, it just takes time to get out of that habit. Eh?
Because the reason they have a teleprompter is they don't want you going off script. The very first time I was live on television in Brandon, Manitoba, they were like, hey, you're going to do an update. And there was a CFL commissioner. I'm not going to say his name because I still might get sued. I said like I lost my place and I just started going off script. And
oh boy.
Blah, 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 and I got off and I'm like, okay, I'm probably never gonna go on television again
doing the papers.
because I'm like
that's the end of me.
Well, I'm like I basically almost did the Ron Burgundy, so I went off script, and that's why they don't want you to go off script because they don't want to get sued. And so when you have to, if you've never done it before, it's like, oh, what am I doing here? And there's
but
really
everything's
good people.
to a T.
Everything
you
everything
did radio
is timed.
or television and Nate. I mean, we did the
was all
teleprompter.
It's
for
timed.
a
It's
little-
timed
That's
to
tough.
the second.
Yeah, that's tough.
Did you ever have a teleprompter instance where like it just froze on you?
Yeah.
or ran a
Lots.
little too
How,
hot?
like-
Yeah. So in Brandon, we had to tape the paper together and then feed it through. So sometimes you would get the crumb, and then you would hear it on TV, like, and be like, oh.
Oh, really?
The worst I ever had at Global Television is, so Global, our studio was down in the basement where they also filmed SCTV, and you have to walk past the
Oh,
John
man.
Candy pictures every day. I'm
Pulling
like,
a sandwich out of the drawer, whatever.
great.
Yeah.
And so our offices were upstairs, and so I used to sometimes just write out the highlights, like for a minor hockey game or whatever youth game, I'd write them out. I got downstairs, I'm going through my scripts, and I have left my highlight sheet upstairs on my desk. So it's not in the prompter. It's not an Oiler game where I know I can just do the highlights. I made up every single name. I think I used Johnny Bench once because my name whenever I do highlights and I'm trying to figure out timing, I just throw Johnny Bench in as the
Johnny
name.
Bench, the
Johnny
ringer.
Bench, Johnny Bench,
Get him
Johnny
in.
Bench. And so that's how I time it out. And then I got down there and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I literally made up every name. Apologies if your kid was in that game and you were watching and seeing, like, I didn't know we had a Cincinnati Reds Hall of Famer on our team. But literally every name I made up, and not one person called that I heard about. Maybe the manager got a bunch of calls, but I was just like, okay, I might get called to the office for this because I just made up a bunch of names because I didn't have a script. I'm like, I can't say I don't have the script because I'm still going to be making up the names. So that was the worst malfunction of script teleprompter for me. It was my operator.
But you got to fill.
I
You had
filled
to
it,
do
yeah.
something.
I
You
had
got
to.
it done.
Like we used to have a producer, God bless his soul, he's passed now. He would say, "Can you speed up your highlights?" I'm like, "Well, are you going to fast forward the tape because the tape's already cut?"
Yeah.
I could talk faster, but it's not going to make any sense.
It's not gonna be really out of
The only
I
way
win.
we can speed up this
Finish
tape is if you put it into fast forward, and I'll talk really fast. So
Hey,
otherwise,
McDavid scored while there's a highlight of the
Yeah.
Blue Jays on the
like
screen.
there's nothing worse than being ahead or behind.
Yeah.
And you look up and you're like, oh, I don't know where I am. Like that's anchor fear right there. But you can't speed up the highlights unless you fast
Well, if you get
forward,
into a
so-
no man's land, you're kind of cooked. Like,
Yeah,
what do
and
you,
so
how do you?
we would do Boston Pizzas live on location, and some of them were really loud. And so we have an IFB, and you could hear like the hockey and the highlights, but golf highlights really hard in a loud bar. Like we as society, we put a man on the moon, and we've put women into space. We put men and women out into space, but we still have like 20-second delays on our live feeds and stuff. And so you're trying to figure out, and then like our producer Ann Stark was wonderful. She'd be like, next highlight, next, like she'd be cueing
She's
us
not, yeah.
because I don't know. I can't hear golf highlights. There's no nat sound as opposed to a hockey goal or whatever. So, but yeah, we're like, why do we have so much trouble with the delay? But yet we can communicate with somebody on the moon, man. It's wild. So.
The story of making up names. I got this. Dave Jamieson would tell me that Rod Peterson used to do in preseason.
Yeah, he would
love to throw in just fake names. Just to spice things up because he's calling a boring football game. Like football is the worst preseason. It is. Like I couldn't even
absolute
imagine.
worst.
Like watching, it's awful.
But even
I
Joe
couldn't
Buck the other night, Seahawks Giants, they're like, we're still here. Like,
Yeah.
they kind of made fun, but you kind of have to poke
But
fun at it a bit.
in the
You do.
preseason game, like you have to make this somewhat exciting for 60 minutes of action in a game that is boring as heck. And so to spice it up, he just throw names
love
there. And he'd get texts sometimes like from like Eric Tillman or GM at the time. I was like, who's that? But he's just doing it just because who's going to really know?
No one's getting hurt.
Like, and you're on the radio, Ben Johnson out there with the tackle. Like, no one's going to be like, who? Like, you're going to have, and you might have the one person like, questioning it quickly, but then you just move on and you keep rolling. That's the key too.
Yeah.
Is you can't stop and laugh or you have to just keep going naturally.
Straight
Well,
sell.
they
and
tell
people
you that
forget
like,
about it.
even if you make a mistake, you try not to acknowledge it, right? You just keep
No
going.
need to
so-
apologize. You didn't hurt it. You move on.
But I remember Rod hearing those stories about throwing people in, throwing fake names in.
Surveyor Brett, 780-218-9999, who's also in the Hangout contest, by the way, which we're going to run for a couple more days, and we'll announce it next week, the winner. If you follow Edmonton Sports Talk on a podcast feed, or if you're not, go follow it. Subscribe to the Edmonton Sports Talk YouTube channel, and then screen cap both of those, and then text the 780-218-9999, and you'll go into a draw to be on the Hangout one day. We're also going to give away a Hangout spot tomorrow at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge when we're there for Thursday Night Football. But the contest is simple. Follow the Hangout on a podcast. Subscribe to the Edmonton Sports Talk YouTube channel. Let us know in the Paris Jewelers inbox. Shout out Paris Jewelers. Thank you for the clock again. 780-218-9999, and you'll go into a draw. But Surveyor Brett says, invention of the text line must have helped a lot for radio. They can help fill and ask you to get that live interaction. Here's the thing I'd say about text line, because I started before the text line in radio. And it was calls, but it was emails. So we'd get emails.
Yeah.
Email us, blank at the team1260.com. Texts are amazing just for there's an immediacy to it and connecting with your audience right away. Like the email, not everyone's going to send an email. The calls, they always say about 10% of your audience is going to interact with you. Very few people are going to call. You only get special people that are going to call. The text, almost anyone could do. And that's been, to me, was one of the best things of working at the station. It was the invention of having the text line. Now, there was also the worst.
Yeah,
because
I
you would
was
get
going to
nasty
say there was
stuff.
It's a double-edged sword.
There
I mean,
was.
when somebody emails in, they have your
to think
email
about it.
address, and you.
But if it's
say,
angel69 at Hotmail,
Yeah, I
you're
guess.
still there's an anonymity.
but if
about
somebody
it.
calls in, it's their voice.
They also have
and
to think about it, too.
and
They have
so-
to pick up the phone and press
And
the
if
numbers.
somebody
Yeah.
sends you a tweet or something on social media, there's usually a handle. Again, it could be made up, but the text gave people fake courage, like keyboard warriors, like people that were saying, "I disagree with you on the power play. Go kill yourself." Like you're a terrible person to throw this, or the stuff that we would get called of names because these people were so brave that it's disgusting.
Brave in quotes.
Yeah, exactly.
I was this close to creating the Twitter account of the text line
Oh,
to just share
God.
some of that insanity.
Oh, that
we
would have
all
been
witnessed.
something else.
Oh,
We should have done
and just
that.
a taste of
Just
the,
here's a couple things.
the stuff we would chew on first thing in the morning.
So here's
But
something that a guy in radio that I didn't work with this person, but they told me this is what they would do is they would take some of the numbers and go throw them on chat lines of different things of hey, I've got Madonna tickets or something like that. I can't make it. Please call after 11 p.m. I work shift work. Right. And it's like, whoa, that's, these people are never going to know, but it gave this person some satisfaction. And, it's just, that's going a little bit deep in it. But the people, the things, like, I don't think people realize how brave these people thought they were when there is reverse lookups. You can find out. And, some of the
Well, we have their
people,
number in the end. We could do whatever.
And you're right.
We all
never-
have big Twitter followings. We could all just post it on our Twitter saying,
It's
and
just-
here's what they did. But usually whenever we post the text, we also blanked out their number.
You try,
As
yeah,
a
you try to
respect,
because
right?
you're trying to be the better person in
Yes,
this, but you're also
yes.
letting people know the vileness that came with anonymous texters.
Yeah.
Like and even not just to us, about athletes and coaches
Anything
and
going
anything.
on
It's
in
just
the
like
world,
you really would you be okay coming on saying your name and saying the same thing? I do not think so.
I tell you this though, and I think,
And there was some great interaction too.
Yeah.
But it was probably 50-50, I would say, at night anyway.
growing up in the internet age and all that, in Napster chat rooms, Yahoo chat rooms, I mean, I think as a younger person back then, we all kind of did that. Everybody liked to go on. Somebody would post something, I don't care. And then you'd be like, look at me, I don't. Having to deal with the text line over the years and doing what we're doing, Twitter and all that, it's given me more of an appreciation to be like, people will, it's a big world out there. And you don't need to be, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't care about this. That's okay.
Not everybody needs to know your opinion on
Nobody-
everything, and
nobody
that's
cares.
social
Like,
media now,
that's,
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's given me actually the lesson of just taking a step back sometimes. And when we all get a little mad, we're all on there sometimes.
Sure,
Someone
yeah.
says something. It doesn't matter. None of
The
it
worst
matters.
thing you can do is respond immediately to
Or
anything.
respond at all,
right?
really. Like,
yeah,
just,
or
just
respond
don't,
at all.
It's,
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know.
right. There's so many, and it is like
It's exhausting.
I used to sometimes respond to people in the text in the early going in my early days of radio, and then you kind of figure out like I don't need to. All I'm doing is feeding into
Well, it's a
what
runaround.
this
You
person,
never-
and then never do you send one back and they say, "Oh, good point. I'll stop texting you."
I did. That was a challenge. I liked. There were a few people that
I got a few.
over the hours
Where
we'd
you
be
just, or
communicating.
even you agreed to disagree,
Yeah,
and then
and I say,
there'd be
hey, you know.
apologies sent to
Sure,
Polish
every
for each
once
other.
in a
There
while.
was-
Like,
I
that
got
was-
a few of those.
those were
Those
the
W's,
respectful
yeah.
people
Yeah.
that you
Yeah,
could.
But
you
they
could-
started off poor.
Okay,
But you
yeah.
didn't
There was a
talk
few.
them off
I've
the
had a
edge
few
and-
started off very
Yeah.
poor.
Yeah.
But then by the end, it was the conversation occurred, and we didn't agree with each other's opinion,
that's
but we walked
interesting.
away going, agree to disagree. And,
And-
sorry for the
and that's-
tone
yeah,
of
that's
before. We
fine.
both send that back and
Sure,
forth.
that's
A
fine.
sporting
But
duel. Yeah.
somebody even texted, did you guys block text numbers? We did at the station.
But
There were
We had
some.
the ability to do
Very,
it,
very
and we
few.
did. My line for it was it had to cross a line. Like,
family insults were
that
if
if I saw something that I didn't like of what it said about someone else in our station,
Yeah.
I didn't. Those like if I felt that cross line just to me personally, because I was kind of the one that could go and send it to get
Sure.
it blocked. I would do it.
Like
But people ripping on me, I barely did that.
It was select
It was
few that we-
only
yeah.
it was only like, okay, this person's like really gone
Or
too
flooding
far.
Yeah,
of
see-
But for the
messages.
most part, you would have to be of like the worst for any of us to sit there and be like, we're getting this number blocked.
Yeah. See, where I'm on social media, I'm different in that respect where I'm just like mute block it. Like,
Well, I found the
really
ads more
quickly.
annoying. I block the ads. I'm blocking
Oh,
ads.
yeah,
I'm
the
not
ads
blocking
are-
people.
yeah.
But mute's
But
your friend.
it's like this is the way I look at it. And Craig Button and I have had this conversation so much about you would never stand on the street corner and somebody yell these things at you, all these obscenities that they're doing on social media, and sit there and take it and be like, okay, you would walk away or do something else. And that's the social media of walking away.
when you're
is
in the
mute.
arena, it's tough to like.
Mutes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm saying like you're on social media, the mute, the block, that's your walking
yeah.
away.
mute's better than block because some people want the block.
I guess so.
They
I guess
want
so, yeah.
you to block
So,
them,
yeah,
and
you
they
mute
take
them.
that
It's
as
a
a
badge,
triumph.
yeah.
And that's
It's-
where if you mute them, you don't
Then-
see
yeah,
it, and they can't
exactly.
get that walking
It
away.
is
of,
so good
I got
because
them.
you're not giving any, and then you're like, because you would never sit there in public and let somebody berate you. You'd be like, I got to get out of here. I'm
I
leaving.
always find the story funny. Yukon Jack there at the Bear, and a guy was on him for years about the app. Oh, these suck. I could do this, my eyes closed, blindfolded, and you could well come on down, come into the arena one day, come into the ring, and he couldn't do it.
No.
Froze, couldn't write stuff, couldn't do anything. No.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, okay, and again, Uke wasn't, haha.
He's just pointing out
Take
that
this
it's
with-
This isn't
not
easy.
the easiest.
Nothing.
Once that red light goes on, some people
I-
could still talk that have never done it.
But
They
I'm
could
not
do a
gonna-
great job, but a lot of people, they do struggle once the red
chirping
light's
a
on.
poorly built building. I could
I
build it
couldn't
better.
go.
I can't build
I couldn't
a
go
building.
do any plumbing.
No,
Like,
who am I
I
to
can't
say?
do play-by-play. I've never done it. I
You
know
never
I
know.
couldn't
You
do
never
that.
tried it at
You
Nate?
just got to get
that
Cam Moon
one's
to
not
throw
me.
you in, and you're good, man. Just go to
Off
a
the deep
game
end.
where go to an Oiler game. Tell Mooner he's got a flight and jump in there.
Yeah, there's a quickness that I don't have.
Never
for,
an
for
itch for it.
play-by-play.
Never
There's
a-
also never an itch for
Yeah,
it.
I was
like
like that way too until
Till Mooner got you.
till Bell decided to lay me off, and I needed to find
Because you were
work.
strictly you
I
did
was just
radio with us,
anchor.
but TV
Yeah,
guy,
just
like you're
anchor.
by trade.
I was like prompter, anchor, and then radio got into more ad libbing, which has helped me in play-by-play
Sure,
because
yeah.
you got to fill time. But again, I never wanted to do it. I went down to Medicine Hat actually to do a couple of games with Corey Graham when he was Oil Kings. Just paid my own way, and then God bless his soul, Rob Zitlau called me on the way home and says, "Do you want to do some play-by-play for me at ICU?" And like, yeah, I need work. I'm looking for stuff. Actually, that was before I got into radio. It was when I left Global, and then before I came over. So I did a little bit, but then got more involved. And again, I never thought I would. Necessity and something different, and I highly recommend to people to try and get out of your comfort zone every
And
once
that's
in a
your
while.
great
It's not-
example of it.
You don't have to do it all the time, but every once in a while, do something that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Get through it, and you feel better about
Grow
a
a
lot
bit,
of things.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
great for mental health. I'll tell you that for sure.
D. Millard from For Vengeance Media, Lieutenant Eric, and Matt Iwanyk with you here on the EST Hangout. You were doing a little bit of Wildcats or Huskies. Or did you do
yeah.
both?
Yeah, I did. We did ICU video. Did they had both teams for the junior football league.
And how long ago was that now?
That would have been like
was that-
2013, 14, 15 ish.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
That's some good football. Like he
Home
just
and away?
went. He just
You're-
went to
just home.
Huskies.
Just at we were at Clark Park.
So Huskies were in JP Bowl then, or they weren't?
no,
No, that was
It's
fall.
still
Clark Park.
All Clark, yeah.
I don't know where it is now.
Huskies
They're-
are at JP,
Yeah.
and Wildcats are at Emerald
Oh, okay.
Hills.
Because there was, I think what happened, there was a fight basically between FC Edmonton and
Yeah,
the
there
football
was.
teams.
There was
and
a-
FC took over.
And there was
and
lie.
now there's nothing
yeah.
at Clark. Except I think McEwen Soccer plays at Clark.
Okay.
But I tell you this:
Why isn't the football teams gone back there then? I wonder.
Hearing your experience at the JP Bowl, they seem to have done
they
it up
like that
nicely.
better?
Like
I don't
I've seen a
know.
picture. I can't remember which one
Yeah.
on their website. They've got nice.
Nice.
Done up the dressing room for the team
Good.
that I don't think they'd
Well,
want
it's nice to have a home of their
right.
own. Then.
Well, and I can't speak for the Wildcats, and I'll leave that there with
We'll
where
have to
they
get Gene
play.
Milne on.
Yes, and I'd love to hear his thoughts on this. But I was talking off air too, and I live in the neighborhood now, JP Bowl. So, at nights you'll hear the PA very faintly in crowds, and that is beautiful.
I
in
love
your
that.
backyard, you can hear some fall football. But so my brother and I walked down, and again, it's the nice bowl, which is always good for a football.
that's
I mean,
Jasper Place, right?
Yeah, Jasper Place Bowl. And they got the one side done up, the grandstand. The other side's for the visitors, nothing there. But they had it. I mean, it was the last home game of the season, so I think the alumnus are out, the families are out. It was a great atmosphere. The nice merch. I mean, you got the concession. Everything's right there, and for that league and that football, I thought, and again, first blush, great fit. And I can't speak from someone who's seen it played at Clark before. And Clark's changed over. I know you can't just move football back in there now and just go on. But I really like the setup at JP Bowl.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's nice for them to have a home.
Yes.
You
right?
want that.
Where it's just going in and transient, and you're in and out, and now you have. So there's something to be said about that and an atmosphere. I mean,
parking's one issue they said around there too, and there are residential spaces. Maybe when the LRT
that's
gets
by
done,
Bill
that's
Hunter
different.
Arena, right? There's
Yeah, it's all
always
there. Yeah,
parking issues.
But
when
go in the
go
residential,
there.
you can kind of do a little walk.
The it's like at some point the Golden Bears are going to need a new home, but I don't
hockey.
Go, oh yeah,
no.
But I don't want them
That's an
ever to
interesting
leave
question,
Claire
though.
Drake Arena because it's such
Can you
a.
renovate what needs to be fixed? Like that's the question. Like
I don't know.
It'd be the ice plant and the locker rooms. That would be the big deal, I would think.
Is the investment worth the?
I don't
to
know.
keep that?
And it's just so quaint. Like I don't know. The it's a square.
You know
rink.
me where I come out on these
the
things.
I wouldn't
boards-
want to leave there. Like
No.
if I'm
It's so
I'm
awesome.
paying
if I'm U of
the
A
extra.
alum, if I'm part of that university, the program,
But at
whatever,
some point-
I'm fighting as
Right.
hard as possible to come
Okay.
up, even if it costs a little more to just renovate
But
Claire
here's
Drake.
but here's
buy
the
that
problem.
renovation back.
Here's the problem, and I'll go back to Brent Sutter going down to coach the World Junior team in North Dakota, the greatest World Junior team ever during the lockout. I think it was like 05 team.
Yeah.
And he comes back from Ralph Engelstad Arena, which is nicer than most NHL arenas. It's so good, and I've had the privilege of being there. And blew up the dressing room in Red Deer and said, "This is why we're losing kids." And so, if you don't renovate, you suffer in recruiting because because where did the Huskies
Well,
used to
UofS,
play?
Rutherford,
it was
but
terrible.
that had charm,
Right,
baby.
but
I know what you mean.
You
but there's
need to expand. You need to have facilities. You need to recruit. And at some point, Claire Drake is going to fall behind in that. Now you've got the school, which does a lot of your recruiting, but it's still you need to keep up. And at some point, they're going to need something.
Sure. So can you renovate the locker rooms?
Maybe.
Invest
and then
in a
But
way.
it's
you
only
invest,
so big you can expand there. There's
but,
not a
but
lot
what
of
else
room.
do you need to expand? Like, can you? Maybe this is too much for the program, but then do you have a practice facility somewhere else? And Claire Drake's for home games. But you practice
wouldn't you
somewhere
want
else.
to maybe like I've been there for some U of S games where you can't get a seat. Like, wouldn't you
Yes.
want? You wouldn't you want to host?
That's what you want.
Wouldn't you? No, but you can't.
That's what
don't
I
you want more seating.
No,
But that's
because
the Taylor Field Mosaic
because I
Stadium
don't
debate here.
I don't know how many more fans you can actually fit that are willing to come.
I think you
And so-
would. I think, and you could host more events then.
But that's an angle. That's,
I'm not saying
yeah.
you have to get a
No, I know.
30,000 seat
But
arena.
it's- what is it
Get
right
a
now?
2,200. Get a
but I don't-
2,500. Get a
if you marketed
3,000.
the charm of a Claire Drake, like a Fenway or a Wrigley or whatever, and I know these are different leagues.
Yeah.
But there is a sense
Yeah,
of wanting
I
to come
love-
and be a part of that story,
I love
right?
it.
Like, yeah.
I just think
it's
at
a 3,000 seat arena.
Okay, so do you need?
Are
you
you
do
going to have
5,000?
4,000? Why are you going to be able to find 2,000 more people that
Well,
want
for
it?
events, if you're going to host, I guess then you don't have to leave. I mean,
There's great points.
Yeah,
I love
I
Claire
get it.
Drake. I would
Yeah.
love for
Yeah.
it to never change
Yeah.
because I love watching.
I-
playing games there. It's awkward. The boards are kind of square and it's weird.
Uniqueness?
and that gives them their home.
Yep.
Like, I wish NHL rinks weren't all the same. I miss the Boston
There's
Gardens.
no exactly.
I love the baseball stadiums are different and
Soccer's like
Fenway.
that.
Yep.
I wish the NHL would go back and
give
so-
parameters. It
Yeah,
has to be
exactly.
min-max,
That's right.
min-max. Do this.
And I wish Claire Drake would never change. I just wonder at some point, if you can renovate, that's the best. But at some point, if Calgary was to get a new stadium or UBC, I wonder if the recruiting, if guys are like that Rutherford in Saskatchewan, the charm wore off. Like
The charm wears off in that place too. I mean, the roof and everything
leaking,
there,
right?
there were
Yeah.
like warts to it that you have to say, okay, we need to fix this.
Claire Drake is just
And Claire Drake is
aesthetic.
still working. But I think there are two different, and it depends who you are. Are you a player looking for a place to play? Are you a parent? Are you a coach? Are you like
Fan,
Sutter's opinion of that was, okay, well, he walks into there every day. From a fan's point of view,
They might
well,
like
maybe
it,
I like my seat. I like that view, and I like the dimension, or all of these things. But I think we're so quick to move to, and again, I'm not saying your points are wrong, but we're so quick to move to that direction these days, as opposed to taking a second and realizing the charm, and you cannot move or buy that or repurpose that at
Like,
all.
what do
Once
you
it's
think
gone,
of
it's
New
gone.
Yankee Stadium? You don't have a problem with it.
But it's still not an old Yankee Stadium.
It never
But
will be.
I guess the one thing about New Yankee Stadium, I will say, they made it look exactly like old Yankee Stadium almost.
Yeah, so could you do the
So they
same
did
thing
that.
and make a really
Repurpose
nice
a Drake?
You
I don't know, like-
retro is in, man.
But
that's what
but I
Like,
think one of the things
what's Boston gonna do at some point? Can you?
They'll have to keep
you
renovating.
you can only renovate so much.
But by that time, you're investing so much that you just keep going.
you have the money for it. Like Real Madrid is they're renovating their
Bernabeu,
soccer
yeah.
stadium, and they're doing over 3 years, and they're going to modernize it and stuff.
Like-
there's ways I
But in
think
Italy
you could,
with the
I'm no
San Siro,
And that's what the
architect.
Dodgers
I'm
did
no-
with Chavez
Yeah,
Ravine.
I
in
think
Dodger
there's
Stadium.
ways that like you could. Well, MSG has been around for how long?
Yeah.
and all they do is just keep renovating, go
and
through
it's
massive
crazy,
renovations.
like the 6 levels and everything there. So I guess you can.
But
Now
depends on
you
the
need
place.
money for that,
We're
so,
talking
like-
U Sport hockey here. and
Yeah,
here
they
we are
don't
talking
have those
Major
money.
League Baseball.
Right.
and-
So
But I would think
but
that-
renovations also cost. Sometimes
they
with
do.
older buildings,
More.
renovation
More.
costs more
It's an
than
investment
And
a new
that's-
build.
in a sense too.
But that's where if I'm the U of A, I would probably pay a little bit more to
to
renovate
keep
Claire
it,
Drake
yeah.
or see what
You
the
can make
cost
some-
is
I
to
wish-
renovate. Then
that's-
build
I'd
something
love that
new.
too, yeah.
Because
You can't build
you
charm.
can't change all that. You can't build the
capture.
history.
Look at Rogers.
once
it's
it's gone,
a
it's
beautiful
gone.
building,
Yeah.
but the history you can't bring that with you. The
There's never a
Forum-
It's
correct
too
answer.
clean.
I'm sure.
Almost.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like the
You
Forum,
want a
Maple
bit
Leaf
of-
Gardens,
Yeah.
like all of those places.
I want the paint peeling a bit, right? Like that's
yeah, I don't want to dump, but
no,
you know,
but you want
like,
a bit of a You don't want to be like, oh, I don't want to break anything.
you don't want rats like in Florida,
No,
right?
here's
Or
the thing,
MSG
there's
or
a
whatever
middle ground
places.
here. That
if you build a new stadium or you rink for the Bears, you cannot have the benches on opposite sides. That won't fly. You'll have to have the two separate, and that right there, you lose a charm
you're
of Claire
losing a
Drake.
bit of
Right then and there, the fact that the visitors have this small bench where players literally have to
You could
stand
still
in
give them a
the
small
hallway.
bench.
Well,
I don't
but you'd
think
be
I don't
dealing
think
with
you could.
regulations and
I
rules,
don't
and
think
right.
you could.
No, I think
I think if you're-
teams have done that when they've built new arenas. Is the
But
visiting
not,
bench is
not
just
the level of Claire
Yeah,
Drake
not-
small bench.
not to Claire Drake where
like,
they're in
not
the
at that
stands.
level where they're standing next to the penalty box.
They're up
and
in the
stuff.
popcorn machine because there's no skate guards on.
But then the flip side is you can maybe like there's the
And there's
what's
also
the
revenue
room?
too, right?
Well, yeah, but I forgot what the room is that you could overlooks the
Oh,
rink.
the lounge.
Yeah, I forgot what it's called, but you can maybe do a little more of that, and there is more money that could
But
come
that's
in.
what
So
I'm
I get where the
if
money
you-
comes from all of
If
that.
you do a
but you
new
lose
arena,
something.
there's also revenue. Like
Yeah.
there's you're with any old arena. Like that's why you look at Rexall, the luxury suites and everything. So then you're building a new arena to get
No, and that's
and it's
Yeah.
just like I don't know. I love nostalgia. I love old. I crave that stuff. But I'm also a realist in knowing.
well, we all exist
Money
to make money.
stands
We're
to
all
all
here
the
for
world's
money. This is
questions.
all
Right.
money.
Money
Money is money.
talks.
Money.
And sure, if the best way is to renovate, like you're saying, Fenway Park, they will probably, hopefully,
Wrigley.
never.
Wrigley, I mean, there are.
I mean, it is what it is.
But Real Madrid, that example, they're in San Siro's getting
They're going to redo
Yeah.
it.
redo
I
it,
think.
and that's a classic.
That's
place,
the
and they're
home of
just-
Italian soccer.
yeah.
Almost a lot national teams play
Oh,
so
and
many
they're
games.
and they're
at San Siro. They
just
want to rebuild.
building. They're just
Rebuild it.
blowing up and building.
That's what they want.
But
to
again,
do.
maybe a Drake too, like a modernized, but
Yeah.
you keep the idea, you keep some of the
Personally,
unique
yeah.
charms, or as close you can.
Yeah, it's-
And then
yeah,
you
I
have
still
some
hate
fans that are like, "This is a dump. I want a brand new
Yeah.
shiny toy."
I hate
right?
saying the dump though. Dump is such
No,
a like, but so many memories. Like I find it
But to
offensive
that-
to call
to-
these places a dump.
But
Like,
to a person that never had those memories,
like
like
going
I'm
to-
saying,
Oh, if
a
you
Yeah, in the
never
person,
same
been there.
league, if
Like
you go
I'm
to
saying-
downtown community, the rink for McEwen, you go to Claire Drake for Bears, the amenities
Yeah.
of the downtown rink and the look of it's going to feel so much better.
This is what I'm
and it's
saying.
not
Why you call
going to be
it
as
a
a dump.
dump? I hate
if
that.
I
That's
went to an arena, I'm talking about a person that goes to an arena,
casual, just
and it's
yeah.
it's an old arena, and then they build a new arena. They want the new shiny one because they don't have the memories of watching their team win and their feet
Yeah.
sticking to the floor and all those.
But there's
things.
still like a historical, like you go to a museum or anything
right,
like
but
that.
they
like
don't
it's-
have that. So they want
Yeah.
the shiny new toy. They're like, oh, I don't want this paint peeling. I want latte with whatever. Like there are people that just want the shiny new. They don't care about
Yeah.
the memories. They just want to go and be seen at the arena. Like if you watch a Leafs game,
Oh well,
the,
it's yeah.
the
it's-
first whistle it fills up again because they're doing business, and not that it's a bad thing. It's just there's the nostalgia fan, and then there's the shiny toy.
Stop
fan.
the ride and get me off.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
like.
right.
I don't. Like, I
I-
hear what you're saying.
yeah.
I just hate it.
I never went to the U of A, but if they want to get rid of Claire Drake, I'm picketing. I'm going there and picketing.
Wow.
The big question for all this, though, is what does Bob Stauffer think?
Well, that's
Well,
He's
yeah.
that's
the big
veto
one in
power.
this.
Veto power here.
I would never want the Bears to play anywhere but Claire Drake if it was doable. I just wonder
Sure,
how
you
long.
understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Well,
And maybe
I've-
there's a that's that hybrid of.
I've talked about this before, and because
Like I thought the Bears were getting an arena at some point. There was
So,
all this talk with the new arena.
Yeah, and what I know of that is, okay, so when Cates was buying the team and going to build the new rink, there was talk of he would build an Oilers practice facility that would feature the Golden Bears.
Oh, okay.
That they would be able to play out of. And then something has happened in that time that has gone away.
Well, yeah, the Golden
So
Bears
now-
game went away.
Hypothetically, they'd be
Is
playing
it
downtown.
Bass?
Then is that kind of the dream there? Or
I thought maybe the practice rink might have. Maybe I'm misremembering this. Was supposed to be at the U of A,
Oh, okay.
and the Oilers would have the practice facility. They're like how some teams
Oh,
have
right,
two
yeah.
separate
Yeah,
locations.
okay, yeah.
They'd have practice there, and then the home. Or if, I can't remember, or if it was going to be the downtown community rink was supposed to be a little bit bigger because the
Right.
Bears were supposed to
Okay.
be in it. But now McEwen is there.
Do they still have the Bears rookie game, or is it
no,
now that McEwen?
That's been. I don't even know if that there's been nothing this year, and you can't do it now.
That's right. So they don't even have a game anymore.
Yeah, they don't even. But also, I think part of that is.
That was a fun game watching the Bears, and it was a little bit unfair because
Did you know that going
the
in?
Bears
That's
are
that
bigger,
challenge.
stronger,
That's the
yeah.
fun challenge to
and
watch.
the Bears would sometimes get a little bit rough or whatever and stuff. But it was fun hockey, man, and the Bears got up for that so bad. That's the Bob. Rob Schremp and Dylan Stanley and I did a shootout in intermission of a Bears-Oilers rookie game for charity, yeah. So it was like Bob, Dylan Stanley, and Rob Schremp shooting on me. And Rob Schremp scored the first one and then tried the lacrosse move and threw it into the stands. Dylan Stanley scored both, and Bob didn't score on either. And so
Bob's spinorama failed. Hey?
his spinorama
Did the Omar
failed, yeah.
spinorama?
And so we don't. It was like for don't. I think we raised like a couple $1,000 and for cross cancer and stuff. But it was quite fun to do that.
I can't remember which ones because I think the McDavid one. I think they played that at Rogers.
Yeah, they did
Like they because of the attention.
because it was so big.
So I think the Hall one was still at Claire Drake,
Might have been, yeah.
and it was just jam packed.
It's crazy.
And it was just like it was just unbelievable. Just when Claire Drake is bumping,
It's I
like
tell
when
you,
they have when they're in the
Bears
Canada West
Huskies,
Finals or
best.
something.
If the
Oh,
even a Bears Huskies
great
weekend
rivalry.
series,
It's always a
because
great
you get
rivalry.
so many Saskatchewan people from here that show up, right?
wow.
And it's awesome. It's like a Leafs Canadians game when they come through Western Canada. There's almost as many Saskatchewan fans at that Bears game, and maybe more as Bears fans. And when Saskatchewan scores, there's a lot of cheers that you don't normally hear.
Bears Huskies football next weekend, I believe, here in Edmonton.
Here next
I
weekend?
think I think the Bears are off. They're idle this weekend. They had the win against the Rams last weekend.
After the loss to UBC.
So they're one loss team this year. The Huskies went to UBC last weekend and beat UBC. So I think they're still only a one-loss team. They'll be. I don't know if the Huskies play this weekend or not, but
Alberta went into Saskatoon.
they went into Saskatoon and won a couple weekends ago. So
What does
now
it all
it might be
mean?
2-1.
Well,
One
like that had been the
one loss
first time
teams.
in a long time that happened.
05.
eh?
I think.
Wow.
I think it was 05 for the Bears going there.
Yeah.
It'd been 5 years since the Huskies lost at home.
Jeez.
That's setting up a huge.
I know.
Not this Friday, next Friday.
I think it's next Friday.
Well,
Let
we're
me
going.
double check.
That's got to be a
Well, that's
Canada
the thing
West
because it's
final
not the
preview,
next
eh?
night. I know. I don't believe
Holy
it's.
hell. We went to Huskies Golden Bears last year. Him
Is
and I
it
were
what's
right.
it called now? Is it U Sport? Is that what it is?
U-Sport.
Like that
U-Sport,
name
yeah.
has changed. Like since just
give me the CIAU.
yeah.
I'm a
see,
CIAU
that was
guy.
CIS
see,
and then
GPAC.
U-Sport. Those are the ones I
GPAC.
know.
Remember
Okay, I'm just-
GPAC?
okay. We're dating ourselves now.
See, GPAC was the Western Great Plains Athletic
Oh, yeah, okay,
Conference.
yeah,
so that
yeah,
was
Great
Manitoba,
Plains. Yeah, I remember
Saskatchewan,
Great Plains.
Alberta.
Yeah.
So it was GPAC and CIAU was it, and then it was CIS and then U
CIS.
Sports. It's like
I didn't mind CIS.
Oh, this is going to be.
Yeah, I didn't
the,
mind
the
that.
allegiance
was the
is
best.
split.
CIAU.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I loved going and
The
watching
logo with the big U.
Yeah, basketball. Like Brandon Bobcats had great basketball players. They didn't always finish the year, and at Christmas, a whole bunch of new players would come in, and so there was some recruiting interesting situations. But the basketball, like in the 80s and the 90s, the dunks were crazy, and it was entertaining.
Shorter, dunks crazy, right? Like, I mean, the time to be alive. I don't
And
mind.
now, like Brandon doesn't have hockey. It's really sad because university it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Hockey is an expensive sport,
Yeah.
and rightfully so. You have to have the same men's and women's teams, and they didn't want to have a women's.
It really
program
is,
with the
though.
cost.
The whole youth sport thing is a funny old. We're talking Huskies, Golden Bears, great rivalry,
Yeah.
hockey, gridiron, whatever you want to call it. The SFU entanglements out there. You're talking Brandon. I mean, we had an Ottawa GG's Carleton Ravens game that
Yeah.
was packed at TD Place out in
Crazy.
Ottawa. Kids storming the field, and then you're getting Ontario League 82-0. Like,
it's so all over the
It's all
place.
over the place.
And there doesn't seem to be like a standard, right?
Well, Lavelle could
Yeah.
be like NFL. Like I'm stretching here, but you know what I'm saying. They have a program out there like that. That's kicking. Montreal now have caught up to them. It's kind of funny going coast to coast to coast and seeing how all these different schools and conferences operate
and how it's so big in one area and
Vast,
it's like you would not see college football in like one area have like 150 people at the game, right? Like, it's just big everywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas we haven't grasped football, I don't think, as a country yet.
No.
Certainly at the collegiate level, and we're barely doing it at the CFL.
Space, we're all spaced out. I think that sometimes you say that to a lot of things in terms of travel and such. I mean, you go. I mean, it's in the football too. You're going out. Mount Allison's coming. Well, I mean, you're kind of you're going out there or whatever it is for these Hardy Cups or UTEC Bowls or whatever. Yeah. It's fun to watch on TV on a nice crisp fall day.
It is.
But if I'm not traveling to New Brunswick or whatever
So Allegiance split next weekend. Oiler game 8:00. Vancouver Canucks on the Saturday night. 1:00 Footfield next Saturday.
1:00 Footfield next.
Golden Bears taking on the Huskies.
Okay.
Then the Bears, by the way, the weekend after they're in Manitoba. Then they come back to take on UBC Saturday the 28th. So that's going to be another big game.
Okay.
But Huskies, Bears, 1:00 Saturday, 2:00 Saturday, Commonwealth Stadium. It's Elks Owls.
Oh, wow.
Why
Why would they schedule that?
Why
don't
is
like
U Sports
that at
the
all.
CFL schedule has come out?
Flex
Why is
'em,
U
flex
Sports scheduling this
Flex
type
'em,
thing here?
flex 'em.
Go at night. Maybe they don't want to compete
Some-
against the Oilers. I don't know.
Well, go to the Friday night.
Yeah.
Like, you have two football teams going at the same time. Like,
the same city.
Why U Sport would you do that?
Damn shame.
There's this buzz now around Bears, Huskies potentially, but you're going up against Elks, Owls.
What's the game plan? What are we doing? Are we going to try to go at a quarter each? Like, are we going to ride that
Well,
LRT?
you could
like,
do almost like a half of football at one, and then go finish get the second half of the Elks game.
but
Where's the Oiler
tailgate
game?
though?
But then you miss the tailgate
Where's the Oiler game?
at home. So tomorrow, the next Saturday, you could have a football afternoon. Get down to Rogers Place, watch an Oiler game. So it's a nice little doubleheader.
You could have two football games.
It's too bad they couldn't even almost triple header this. Get one going at 11, one going
Flex.
at 2, one going.
We need to talk to somebody high up at U Sport. It'd be
Well,
11
then, well, you should
a.m.
look at the
kickoff.
schedule.
Actually, you
for
should,
that.
I'm
you
saying
should
it's
call,
their fault, but-
call somebody at CIAU. They might be able to help you. And if they can't, GPAC will
I'll send them a fax. I think I have the number for the fax.
CIAU
GPAC.
and GPAC.
Great
and,
Plains.
And CC GPAC on your fax.
I love it. I just love it.
GPAC.
GPAC.
Game Changers every Wednesday.
Every
it comes out. This
Wednesday,
was episode
yes,
5.
it
You
was.
mentioned a little bit earlier, but
Craig Button was a guest. We talked about the draft this year, last year, players to watch for the draft this year, players that not named Bedard from last year's draft. We also talked about the pathways, Hockey Canada announcing suspensions for players that play in independent leagues. You know, the BCHL is an independent junior league. It doesn't hurt them if a player leaves and he can't go play anywhere else. They'll get another player. It hurts that player. So I know the word inclusivity has been used a lot by Hockey Canada lately because they've had some major issues. That's not inclusivity when you're suspending a player because he went and played in an independent league. So that was a theme this week. We talked with Craig Button about that, and Jason Strudwick joined me as well as just one of the funniest guys. And we talked a little bit about the Oilers, what their maybe weakness is, probably another blue liner. His career we talked about, which is so fun. But we also talked about his coaching in the HSL, and then Tyler Woke is the HSL commissioner. So what that league is about. There are avenues for players. It's, independent hockey doesn't have all the answers, but having one organization tell you what to do all the time and our way or the highway isn't the greatest either. We also did one-timers with Struddy where we just rapid fire and some good Yager stories. He's got some great Ladislav Schmid stories and roommate stories, so that was kind of fun. We have that, and then we have a couple of Saints games this weekend, Friday and Saturday at Grant Fuhr Arena that I'll be joining the broadcast for with Brandon Iwanyk and Tyler Woke, and the JPHL on Silent Ice TV. So we're busy.
it's all on Silent Ice TV?
Yeah, silenticetv.com is where you can find all of that. The Saints are on Flow Hockey with the AJHL, but the Saints Radio Network. Traveling has been nuts. I'll stay in my own bed on a Friday and Saturday for the first time in a month this weekend. So I'm looking forward to it. But it's been wild seeing these young hockey players have no fear with skill and everything. I just hope we just stop coaching the skill out of young players as we talk.
As you said too, good to have options. It's always good to have.
It is.
Options.
It's great to know. When I grew up, it was minor hockey or Notre Dame. There was the only two options, and a lot of the kids went to Notre Dame because they had to go to Notre Dame. It's like their parents. I'm sending you there. It's the middle of nowhere, and now there's a lot of options. There's minor hockey. There's academies. There's independent, and I think options are good. So
awesome stuff. You'll be seeing me a lot later today.
Oh, I
try
sure
like a
will
full
be.
afternoon and
Are
evening.
you guys
going
going to
to
set your clocks the same?
Would like
synchronized?
to. Well,
I'm
he
not
won't
even
touch this clock.
I'm
It's,
not even
Manchester United
You wouldn't even
Belova
touch it.
clock, thanks to
I don't want
Paris
any
Jewelers. What is this? Limited edition. I saw a number, maybe 176. I don't know if that's
Oh, did
the
they
number.
tell you which number?
No,
you
I
got
don't know.
it?
Well, there's 176 on the bottom. I don't know if it is.
that's-
It's a numbered limited edition. That's going up in my
Special.
office. So thank you to Paris Jewelers
It says
for
12. That's what number it is.
that.
You.
Coming up next here on Edmonton Sports Talk, we do got the Lock Shop, Dustin Nielsen, Andrew Hustler Patterson. They've got you covered with, they're doing NHL Futures
They're on
today.
your
They're
leads
gonna
as
do
well, I
I was
saw.
about to say then Pat Gregoire of Coolbet. I don't know if he's on the show with them today. I now feel the pressure.
Patty on the pitch,
This is
AKA.
guy who's high up at Coolbet,
yeah.
and he's on my lean today, which was Man City. Well, I throw out a bunch of
You
things.
gotta ride with him.
He went
Red
with
hot.
Man City in the Erlen Holland to score plus 140 in the Coolbet Canada Bet Builder. I now feel this pressure that this is going national.
To the bank.
Like before, it
To
was
the
just
bank.
the Nielsen show. Now this is national with Pat Gregoire on this, so I'm a little nervous about
Love
that one.
it.
So we'll see how that goes later today. And then at noon, Tommy Gazzola is down at Oilers practice right now. He'll hopefully be back for the Oils stream as him and Dustin Nielsen will get you set for Battle of Alberta preseason edition. That's coming up at noon right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Dino, great seeing you. Thanks
love
for
you,
coming
Dino.
in.
Always,
Thanks,
always
seeing you
fun
again, man.
coming in and hanging out with the Hangout.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for tuning in to everyone on behalf of Dean Millard, YouTube Trev, Lieutenant Eric. I'm Matt Iwanyk, Lock Shop. Coming up next, thanks for tuning in and enjoy the rest of your